Welcome to Novel Love Hearing. We bring you hundreds of novel audiobooks covering every genre and every kind of story you can imagine. Action? We've got it. Adventure? Absolutely. Horror? Of course. Whether it's the legendary Uchiha Massacre or outrageous tales like stealing Naruto's and Sasuke's women, you'll find it here. From epic series like One Piece, Bleach, Fairy Tail, and Hunter x Hunter, to countless other adventures, our library has it all. Love novels but don't have time to read? No worries, just plug in your earbuds, sit back, and let the story take over. Good listening, and happy hearing. The pain, as if searing his very soul, forced an uncontrollable scream from Enel. Did you forget? I told you. I've already seen your future. Rowan stated calmly, a pure red light flashing in his eyes. Observation Haki. Future sight. Enel's every move had been predicted by Rowan. The power of Conqueror's Haki was already waiting for Enel along his escape route before Enel even made his move. This power? This isn't that armament Haki. Why? Why can this harm me too? Enel shrieked in agony. This is called Conqueror's Haki. As for its power, experience it with your own body. Rowan replied, looking at Enel, whose elemental transformation had been forcefully disrupted. An astonishing crimson-black light flared in Rowan's eyes. The next moment, that light fully materialized. Countless arcs of crimson-black lightning roared through the atmosphere, then surged, converging towards Rowan. Amaru. Enel roared again, desperately trying to unleash his 200 million volt thunder god power once more. Rowan's Conqueror's Haki, while powerful, wasn't yet at Shanks's level. He couldn't completely immobilize someone like Green Bull from a distance with Haki alone. But interrupting Enel's elemental escape was more than enough. Crackle. Boom. As the crimson-black light in Rowan's eyes blazed even brighter, he dispersed the flare fruit's energy. Instead, he gathered all his physical energy, channeling it forward. The countless converging arcs of crimson-black lightning also merged into it. Finally, forming an incredibly terrifying ball of pure shockwave energy. All of Rowan's physical power was contained within it, along with the utterly violent and tyrannical power of Conqueror's coating. The Spear of Elbaf. Hikaku's sovereignty. Because this fusion technique originated from the combined power of two giants, Dori and Brogy. Rowan alone could now unleash a shockwave ball comparable to what Big Mom and Kaido working together could produce in the original story. Ocean Sovereignty and Hikaku's Sovereignty are both ultimate Elbaf techniques requiring two giants. Rowan could do it alone. VMM. The incomparably violent shockwave ball pulsed, surrounded by countless roaring arcs of crimson-black lightning. Before this utterly tyrannical power, the entirety of Upper Yard began to tremble. Luffy, Zoro, and the others, Ganfall, Wiper, and the rest, stared in horror from afar at the dazzling crimson-black sphere of destructive energy. The sheer violence radiating from it was terrifying just to behold. Enel's colossal thunder god form seemed almost insignificant before it. Let me tell you, you frog in a well. Only Haki can transcend all. Brat. Hikaku's sovereignty. Rowan gave Enel no more time to react. He slammed his fists together. Boom. The incomparably violent crimson-black shockwave ball tore through the sky, obliterating countless ancient trees, carrying an aura of absolute destruction as it surged towards Enel. Everything in its path was instantly annihilated, reduced to dust. Amaru. Facing this terrifying attack, Enel, his elemental form already disrupted by Conqueror's Haki, could only stare in horror, desperately releasing all the power of his rumble fruit, thrusting his palms forward in a futile attempt to resist. But, boom. The unstoppable, tyrannical energy smashed through his defenses, coursing through Enel's entire body. The dazzling, colossal thunder god form was utterly annihilated before this overwhelmingly violent energy. Amaru instantly disintegrated, revealing Enel within. His eyes already beginning to roll white. Why? Before Enel lost consciousness, memories of his past flashed before his eyes like a revolving lantern, eating the rumble fruit. Destroying his homeland, Burka. Coming here. Becoming God. Using the gold here to build the Arc Maxim for his journey to the endless Va Earth. Reigning supreme, like an omnipotent God. Until he met this blue sea dweller. Until he encountered this power. Conqueror's Haki. Crack. Thud. Accompanied by the sickening sounds of bones shattering and organs rupturing. Just like Enel's divine dream, and his journey to the endless Va Earth. It all shattered. 3 punches. Shattered Enel's god dream. Bang. The shockwave carried Enel's broken body high into the sky. Then, the full force of the shockwave's energy detonated, blasting a massive, gaping hole through a section of the white sea. It was as if a prehistoric giant, with matchless power, had thrust a spear through the very sky, creating this terrifying void. Conqueror's coding. Hikaku's sovereignty. Enel, relying solely on his devil fruit ability without Haki, couldn't even withstand a single blow. Watching Enel being obliterated by a single attack, Ganfall, Wiper, and the others stared in utter horror. That Enel couldn't even take one hit from Rowan? What kind of divine power was this? Even Usopp, who had boasted earlier but was witnessing the full power of Conqueror's coding for the first time, had his eyes nearly pop out. He was just habitually exaggerating. Who knew Rowan would actually one-shot that lightning monster? This is too ridiculous. Zoro and the others also stared, mouths agape, cold sweat beading on their foreheads. This too was the first time they had witnessed the full, unbridled power of Rowan's Conqueror's coding. Compared to this, Rowan's earlier Haki training with them felt like child's play. Blunder. Chapter 107, Physique Upgrade. Rumble Fruit Awakened. Observation Haki Nullification. Blunder. As Rowan's command echoed in his mind, two brilliant golden lights were extracted from Enel's falling body and absorbed by Rowan. Plunder successful. Acquired, Rumble Fruit, Deep Gold. Observation Haki, Deep Gold. Physique energy contained within Rumble Fruit, Deep Gold, automatically digested. Superhuman demonic physique, Deep Gold, enhanced. Born of the Sea, Apex Gold, activated. Armament Haki, Deep Gold, enhanced. A notification screen appeared. All of Enel's power was now Rowan's. The Rumble Fruit, Deep Gold, trait contained all of Enel's physical energy, along with his intense desire to be lightning, developed through using the fruit's power. Regarding this, the moment Rowan obtained the Rumble Fruit, feedback from the system confirmed, Enel, who proclaimed himself God, the incarnation of lightning. His desire to be lightning had already reached the threshold required for the fruit to awaken. The only reason it hadn't awakened yet was because Enel's physique hadn't met the necessary conditions. For a devil fruit like Rumble, arguably one of the most powerful in existence, to awaken, the user's physique had to reach the Apex Gold tier. Enel's physical energy yielded the equivalent of 7 Deep Gold tier physique trait materials for Rowan. Though Enel's hand-to-hand combat skills were abysmal, his innate affinity with the Rumble fruit's desire, reaching the awakening threshold, combined with the fruit's constant tempering of his body, meant his physique contained astonishing energy. No wonder Enel could use the Arc Maxim to simulate the Rumble fruit's awakened power, even unleashing terrifying attacks like Rygo, capable of obliterating an entire Sky Island. Physique energy didn't equate directly to physical strength. It was also the fuel for devil fruit abilities. Enel being able to provide such vast energy to the Arc Maxim showed he was only one step away from awakening. It was just unfortunate that Enel first encountered Luffy, whose Nika rubber body completely nullified his lightning, and now, Rowan, who had mastered infused Conqueror's Haki. His life had met its decisive end. This plundered physique energy existed within every cell. Even if Enel expended vast energy during his fight with Rowan and died brutally, the cellular physique energy wouldn't dissipate immediately. Only through centuries of continuous, life-or-death struggle, like Dory and Brogy, causing complete exhaustion of cellular energy, would it affect the total amount. Or, of course, after death, physical energy naturally dissipates over many years. Now, Rowan's superhuman demonic physique, Deep Gold, after absorbing Enel's physique energy, was only 1 Deep Gold trait material away from reaching the Apex Gold tier. And that final piece. Rowan looked towards the observation Haki, Deep Gold, trait he'd plundered from Enel. He had two choices: directly use it to enhance his own observation Haki, or convert it. Observation Haki was also a strength-type trait. Rowan's own observation Haki was already Apex Gold, capable of briefly seeing the future, placing him among the absolute top Haki masters on the seas. Amplified by the Rumble fruit's electric waves, its range was terrifyingly vast. Rowan closed his eyes. Crackle. Crackle. His entire body dissolved into dazzling lightning. The Rumble fruit's power amplified his observation Haki range even further. Incredibly vast. Rowan smiled. After equipping Ais's innate, super high-level observation Haki, his sensory range already covered the entirety of Upper Yard. Now, amplified by the Rumble fruit, it expanded a staggering tenfold. Such terrifying sensory range, combined with his Apex Gold observation Haki capable of briefly foreseeing the future. Even if the world government sent a massive fleet to hunt him, they could never catch him. Forget a fleet. Even individual intelligence agents trying to track him. Rowan's Haki, amplified by lightning waves, could sense their hostile intent and used the Rumble fruit for long-range strikes, eliminating all possibility of being found. Unless Rowan chose to reveal himself, no one on these seas could find him now. Yet Rowan could monitor a vast expanse of ocean, holding absolute battlefield initiative. Essentially, Rowan was now truly undefeatable in a strategic sense. Furthermore, Rowan discovered the Rumble fruit could also assist in training observation hockey. By using electric waves to amplify hockey, the fruit essentially turned the user into a living antenna, receiving information from vast distances, thereby expanding the sensory range of observation hockey. This, in turn, effectively broadened the influence of the user's manifested five senses. With an increased range and volume of sensory input, the user's manifested senses were constantly exercised, thereby strengthening their observation hockey intensity. Enel, ignorant of hockey's true nature, calling it mantra, still managed to reach deep gold observation hockey precisely because of the Rumble fruit's training assistance. With this ability, Rowan didn't need Enel's observation hockey, deep gold, trait to further enhance his own. Besides, at Rowan's current level, absorbing Enel's hockey would provide minimal improvement. Converting it into a fixed upgrade material was the optimal solution. Convert. Rowan commanded inwardly. Conversion successful. Enel's observation hockey, deep gold, was converted into one deep gold strength type upgrade material. The Rumble fruit only amplified hockey range, not intensity. Enel, for instance, couldn't sense any of Rowan's movements through hockey. And this training method, while consistent, wasn't as effective for raw intensity increases life or death combat, sharpening the manifested senses. Enel's hockey was just barely deep gold, but this single deep gold material was exactly what Rowan needed. Enhance. Without hesitation, Rowan applied the converted material to his superhuman demonic physique, deep gold. Superhuman demonic physique, deep gold, meets upgrade conditions. Advancing to superhuman demonic physique, apex gold. Born of the sea, apex gold, activated. Armament hockey, deep gold, enhanced. Due to insufficient spiritual power, reached armament hockey, deep gold, limit. A notification appeared. Physique. Successfully promoted to apex gold. Though adding directly to the physique trait, the hunger was manageable. After all, it was only a 1 deep gold level increase to his already substantial 9 deep gold levels worth of physique energy. A mere 1/10th deficit, not requiring immediate eating. However, seeing armament hockey only reach deep gold limit instead of apex gold was perplexing. Armament hockey combined spiritual power and physique energy. All along, Rowan's Conqueror's hockey had been the limiting factor. Now, with physique at apex gold, his Conqueror's hockey, deep gold, became the bottleneck, preventing armament from reaching apex gold. Fortunately, the reward for ringing the bell of Shandora, that vast 400-year spiritual power awaited. And Born of the Sea would continue to strengthen his Conqueror's hockey. Reaching apex gold was inevitable. Although armament hockey didn't advance a full tier, the abundant physique energy resolved Rowan's previous stamina issues with Conqueror's coating. Conqueror's coating, though pure spiritual power, still consumed immense physical stamina to wield its violent energy. Previously, his deep gold physique couldn't fully sustain its terrifying consumption. His body would give out before his hockey did. Now, with apex gold physique, that problem was solved. As long as his Conqueror's hockey held out, Rowan could continuously unleash Conqueror's coating. His control over it also improved, boosting its attack and speed enhancements. After all, power needed a strong wielder. Abundant physical energy allowed 100% manifestation of that power. And the gains didn't stop there. Physique energy meets awakening conditions. Desire to be lightning meets awakening conditions. Rumble fruit awakening conditions satisfied. Rumble fruit awakened. A notification appeared. Devil fruit users, even meeting the desire and physique conditions, faced a difficult trial to awaken their fruit. Even Luffy, with protagonist plot armor, was beaten unconscious by Kaido before his sun god trait finally triggered awakening. But Rowan, with the strongest trait system. Once the physique and desire conditions were met, Devil Fruit Awakening was automatic. The Rumble Fruit. One of the most invincible abilities. At this moment, in Rowan's hands. Awakened. Boom. Crackle. 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 Rowan transformed entirely into a lightning human, ascending from upper yard high into the white sea. Terrifying bolts of lightning, within Skypia's unique environment, seemed to pierce the sky. Lightning even more dreadfully violent than Enel's now raged through the atmosphere and the white sea. Deafening thunderclaps echoed endlessly. Like the wrath of a true god. Only upon awakening could the Rumble Fruit's full power be unleashed. After awakening, the Devil Fruit's abilities reached their absolute peak. Rumble Fruit, Apex Gold. The trait tier instantly leaped to Apex Gold. Even relying solely on this fruit, without any hockey, Rowan now possessed Admiral-level combat strength. This was the fierce power brought by a true top-tier devil fruit. Rowan. At that moment, Luffy, Zoro, and the others rushed over. Nami, Vivi, and Robin, Wiper, Ganfall, and the others. All stared dumbfounded at Rowan, now like a thunder god, hovering in the vast white sea. Lightning? Enel's power? Ganfall and Wiper stared in horror at the thunder god Rowan. And was it their imagination, or did Rowan's lightning seem even stronger than Enel's? Rowan can take other people's devil fruit abilities and use them himself. Usopp explained, though his forehead was beaded with cold sweat, he still managed a proud tone while looking at the horrifying, sky-piercing lightning Rowan controlled. So scary. The power of the rumble fruit. Zoro and Sanji swallowed hard. As expected of an ability desired by Rowan. The power of lightning, fit for a god. This destructive force, in Rowan's hands, was leagues above even the flare fruit. Of course, they didn't know Rowan's rumble fruit was now awakened, unleashing its full potential. Naturally far stronger than his current mastery of the flare fruit. And Zoro, Sanji, and Luffy clutched their heads, expressions of pain twisting their faces as the terrifying thunderclaps echoed through the sky. Rowan. Our observation hockey. It's not working. Zoro yelled, a hint of horror in his voice. No. Not exactly not working. But the moment they tried to activate it, it was instantly overwhelmed by the deafening roar of thunder. The rumble fruit's power can overwhelm your observation hockey. Unless your observation hockey is trained to its absolute limit. It's useless before this fruit's power. Rowan turned, looking down at Zoro and the others on the edge of Upper Yard, a smile on his face. After awakening, the rumble fruit's power was unleashed to its extreme. Unless one's observation hockey reached apex gold, it would be overwhelmed by the thunder sound. It was, in a way, an observation hockey nullification. Using devil fruit power to completely shut down hockey perception. As expected of one of the most invincible abilities among devil fruits. Robin murmured, utterly amazed. The display of the awakened rumble fruit was too outrageous. Aokiji's ice fruit, which had once left her with deep psychological scars, seemed significantly weaker in terms of raw destructive display. And the power of awakening didn't stop there. Witness the true power of devil fruit awakening. Rowan declared, looking towards Luffy, Robin, Vivi, and Chopper. The 4 devil fruit users. His body thrumming with crackling electricity. Devil fruit awakening? The others' pupils constricted. Thanks to Rowan's explanations, they knew only after awakening could a devil fruit unleash its full power, and each type gained unique, wondrous abilities. The next moment. VMM. A strange ripple emanated from Rowan's entire body. Crackle. Affected by this ripple, a vast expanse of the white sea's clouds suddenly began to change. Crackle. 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 Countless arcs of lightning, like coiling thunder serpents, began to writhe violently within them. The white clouds darkened, eventually transforming into raging thunderclouds, constantly roaring with untamed lightning. Logia Devil Fruit Awakening ability. Permanently alter the climate of an area. These clouds were now permanently thunderclouds. Boom. Under the stunned gazes of everyone present, the lightning within these newly formed thunderclouds suddenly struck downwards. Momrigan, heavy thunder. Rowan stood at the center of countless thunderclouds, like a true thunder god, laughing triumphantly. Crackle. Boom. Innumerable bolts of lightning rained down. Crash. Far below, the white sea at 7,000 meters. Under the bombardment of 10,000 thunders. Had massive holes blasted through it. Logia Devil Fruit Awakening. This was true, unadulterated. Natural disaster. Everyone stared blankly at the spectacle, their eyes filled with absolute, utter horror. This scene looked like power capable of destroying the world. Chapter 108, Bonus, the full power of Logia Awakening. Ringing the light of Shandora. Momrigan, heavy thunder, apex gold. Rygo, thunder welcome, apex gold. These 2 ultimate technique traits, which Enel could only unleash using the Arc Maxim. Rowan, having now awakened the rumble fruit, automatically acquired them. And the power of Logia Awakening didn't stop there. VMM. Crackle. 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 Rowan, standing at the center of numerous thunderclouds, felt the lightning within his body begin to contract. The next moment. Boom. Accompanied by a deafening roar of thunder, the countless bolts of lightning writhing within the thundercloud surged inwards, following this contraction, pouring into Rowan's body. All the lightning from these thunderclouds was absorbed by Rowan. Stamina. Recovered. Rowan murmured, feeling the change within him, a smile gracing his lips. After acquiring the rumble fruit trait, Rowan himself could transform into a lightning human. The lightning within these thunderclouds permanently transformed by his awakened ability, could naturally be absorbed by Rowan, to replenish his lost stamina. No wonder Aokiji and Akainu could battle for 10 days and nights before a victor emerged. This method of drawing stamina from their transformed elemental environment granted astonishing endurance. Converting elements consumes spiritual power? Rowan mused, analyzing the sensation. It made sense. Devil fruits themselves were manifestations of ancient human desires. A form of spiritual power. Unleashing their awakened might would naturally consume spiritual power as well. However, because this was an inherent ability of an awakened Logia fruit, as natural as a human waving their arm, the drain on spiritual power was minimal. At least, negligible compared to the vast amount of stamina recovered. Crackle. Whoosh. Rowan transformed into a bolt of lightning, reappearing before the crew, the ambient lightning around his body gradually dissipating as he reverted from his elemental form. Rowan. These thunderclouds. Nami, with her climate sense straight, felt the lingering unnaturalness of the storm clouds that refused to disperse. These thunderclouds have been permanently transformed from normal clouds. This is the power of an awakened Logia devil fruit. Rowan explained. His words sent another wave of shock through everyone present. Permanently transformed into thunderclouds. This was the power of Logia awakening? If Rowan unleashed such an ability over a country, wouldn't that nation be utterly annihilated by endless lightning strikes? A natural disaster. Vivi, once your sand fruit ability awakens, you'll be able to do something similar. Your awakened power will allow you to permanently transform an area's climate into a sandstorm. Rowan added, smiling at Vivi. While sandstorms weren't overly threatening to top-tier powerhouses, they posed a significant danger even to Marine Headquarters Vice Admirals, let alone those of Rear Admiral rank or below. An awakened Logia was true a force of nature. Devil fruits are terrifying. Zoro and Sanji muttered, deeply impressed. Before such power, their haki felt almost insignificant. The Momogan scene Rowan just displayed. Their haki would have been instantly overwhelmed by those countless falling thunderbolts, and they'd be annihilated in the barrage. Only the absolute top-tier devil fruits can achieve such an exaggerated level of power. Robin commented thoughtfully, her gaze intense as she looked at Rowan. Thanks to Rowan's explanations, Robin now had a much clearer understanding of the power dynamics on these seas. The most powerful devil fruits, once awakened, could allow their users to contend with admirals based solely on fruit abilities. The Rumble fruit was undoubtedly one of these top-tier fruits. And Rowan also possessed the power of Conqueror's Coating. Combining these two abilities, Rowan's combat strength surely surpassed that of a normal admiral. Even against Aokiji, one of the strongest generation of marine admirals, Rowan probably wouldn't be at a disadvantage. Though the psychological scars from Aokiji remained, Robin now felt significantly more optimistic and confident. Robin's mental comparison of Rowan and Aokiji's strength. Rowan would soon let her witness it firsthand, hearing Robin's words. Zoro, Sanji, and the others instinctively glanced towards Luffy, who was still providing ample emotional support for Rowan, loudly exclaiming SUG. At every display of power, Luffy's devil fruit, once awakened, was hailed by Rowan as the strongest devil fruit. Human fruit model, Sun God Nika devil fruit. If Rowan's Rumble fruit was already this outrageously powerful, then Luffy's fruit, deemed even stronger by Rowan. How powerful would it be upon awakening? Zoro and Sanji clenched their fists. They needed to train even harder. Due to their respective dreams, neither would eat a devil fruit. Now, having witnessed firsthand the exaggerated power of a top-tier awakened devil fruit, they, who relied on haki, swordsmanship, and kicking techniques, had to exert even greater effort to catch up to these top-tier devil fruit users. These thunderclouds, Nami, are a gift for you, Rowan said, looking at Nami with a smile. Displaying the Rumble fruit's awakened power here served another purpose besides personal experience. It was for Nami. For me? Nami blinked, confused. Your Climatact. Using the unique dials from Skypiea, combined with my Munch fruit ability, we can give it a major upgrade. We'll incorporate these thunderclouds into your new Climatact. Rowan explained, gesturing towards the permanently altered storm clouds. Normally, Rowan's current Munch fruit ability couldn't assimilate and combine such violent, awakened thunderclouds. The awakened Rumble fruit stare was far too high. But because these thunderclouds were originally transformed by Rowan's own spiritual power, and Rowan himself was using the Munch ability, it was essentially exploiting a loophole, allowing his Munch fruit to assimilate these thunderclouds. Afterwards, by combining Skypiea's dials, Nami's Climatact, and these thunderclouds through munching and reassembly, they could create a sorcery Climatact capable of summoning a devastating thundercloud finisher. I love you so much, Rowan. Hearing Rowan's explanation, Nami instantly threw her arms around him, overjoyed. With the power of these thunderclouds, Nami could wield a portion of the Rumble fruit's awakened abilities. If she could accurately hit her enemies, her combat power would be astonishing. At the very least, Zoro and Sanji beside her definitely couldn't withstand it. Mr. Rowan. Thank you. Thank you for saving this country. Ganfall knelt heavily before Rowan. The Shandians nearby, even Wiper, were silent, their expressions humbled. Only now, at this moment, did they truly witness the scary power of the Rumble fruit. During Enel's 6-year reign, he had merely been toying with them, like a god playing with ants. If Enel had truly unleashed his full power, they would have died at his hands long ago. If Rowan and his crew hadn't come here, they would have had zero chance of defeating Enel. Rowan didn't stop Ganfall from kneeling. The customs of this world were different. Kneeling here was an expression of utmost gratitude. Stopping Ganfall now would be disrespectful to this man who had burned everything for his country. Mr. Rowan, I have one more presumptuous request. My former god's guards. They were captured by Enel and forced to work on some mysterious project in Upper Yard. I don't know where they are now, Ganfall said, his voice heavy with concern after expressing his gratitude. This had weighed on his mind for a long time. They were forced by Enel to construct a vessel made entirely from the gold of Shandora. The Ark Maxim. A ship capable of flying using the Rumble fruit's power, intended to take him to his so-called endless Va-Earth. Your god's guards are currently in a cave, severely injured by Enel's lightning, unconscious, Rowan replied, extending his observation hockey and locating their faint presences. Whether Enel looked down on them too much to finish them, or it was plot armor, they were still alive, though gravely injured. Gold? A ship made entirely of gold? Hearing this, Nami's very eyes instantly activated. But then, she looked towards Chopper. Chopper. Let's go. Save those people. Nami urged. Yes. Chopper initially panicked, then clutched his little head, exclaiming. Rowan, Vivi, and the others weren't surprised by Nami's reaction. Though Nami loved money due to her past in Kokoyasi village, she was, above all, incredibly kind-hearted. Don't worry. They're not in life-threatening danger. Rowan reassured them with a smile. His observation hockey had already pinpointed their location. Shandora's gold. That's the location of Shandora. And the light of Shandora. Wiper interjected urgently. Relax. The gold used for the Ark was just from the city itself. The ruins of Shandora are on a section of this beanstalk. As for the golden bell, it's at the very top of the beanstalk. Enel never found it, Rowan explained, pointing towards the colossal beanstalk. Let's go. Tend to the injured first. Rowan said, leading the way. Compared to ringing the golden bell, Nami's kind heart took precedence for Rowan. But Wiper started to protest, but was stopped by the chieftain, who had approached unnoticed. Wiper. Battle isn't everything. Seeing all this. Don't you understand yet? The chieftain sighed, gesturing towards the white sea, still bearing the terrifying scar from Rowan's earlier attack. Without Mr. Rowan and his friends, that would have been our fate. Even if, this time, we won thanks to Mr. Rowan. If the war were to continue, it would eventually destroy us all. Compared to life, everything else pales in significance. Life is the continuation of hope. The war is over. The chieftain declared, his voice filled with emotion. Wiper fell silent. He looked around at his comrades, seeing expressions of relief and an end to conflict on their faces. Led by Rowan, the group arrived at the construction site of the Ark Maxim. Under Chopper's medical care, the injured god's guards gradually regained consciousness. Seeing Ganfall, and learning Enel had been defeated, they wept openly. From these guards, they also learned Enel's final, horrifying plan. Before departing for his endless Va-Earth, Enel intended to use the combined power of the Ark Maxim and the Rumble fruit to completely annihilate the entirety of Skypiea. Just as he had destroyed his own homeland, Burka. Hearing this, Ganfall, the Shandians, even Wiper, stared in profound horror and lingering fear. If not for Rowan, they and their homes would have long since become thunderous ruins. Without that, what meaning would discussions of Upper Yard's ownership, Shandora's honor, or ringing the bell hold? Everything would have been reduced to dust, returned to nothing. In that moment, a deep weariness settled in everyone's hearts. War held no meaning. The Ark Maxim. Rowan commented, looking at the massive golden vessel with a smile. Rowan. So much gold. Once the god guards were out of danger, Nami immediately rushed towards the ship, made largely of gold, shrieking with delight. So much gold. How much would this be worth? This ship. Can I take it? Rowan asked, looking towards Ganfall and the Shandian chieftain with a smile, showing them due respect. This gesture deeply moved Ganfall and the Shandians. This man before them was countless times stronger than Enel, yet displayed none of Enel's vile arrogance. Instead, he treated them, the weaker party, with genuine respect. Of course. It is rightfully your spoils of war. Besides, our debt to you cannot be repaid by this single ship. Ganfall and the chieftain quickly assented. Yasha, Luffy and the others immediately swarmed the ark, exclaiming in awe. So much gold. Their crew was rich. Don't dismantle the core golden components. This ship can fly. Rowan reminded the excited crew. With the rumble fruit now in Rowan's hands, the Ark Maxim held immense strategic value. Luffy and the others' faces fell. Not because they disagreed with Rowan's decision, but from a pirate's instinctive regret at not being able to dismantle all the gold. We will gather all the remaining gold here for you. Ganfall and the chieftain quickly offered. Their gratitude couldn't be measured in gold. They would gladly give Rowan everything they could find. All right. Follow me. Rowan instructed, leading everyone aboard the Ark Maxim. VMM. Boom. The rumble fruit's power surged. Powerful lightning flowed into the Ark Maxim, generating immense propulsion, causing the massive ship to slowly lift off. SUG. Luffy and the others yelled in amazement. Whoosh. Whoosh. Under Rowan's control, the Ark Maxim ascended higher and higher. Rowan first guided the Shandians to the location of Shandor's ruins, then piloted the Ark even higher. Towards the very top of the giant beanstalk. A colossal golden bell, intricately carved with ancient patterns, bearing the heavy marks of time, appeared before them. The light of Shandora. Wiper and the numerous Shandians stared blankly at the giant golden bell, tears instantly flooding their eyes. SUG. What a huge golden bell. Luffy and the others gasped in awe. Ring it. Clang. Rowan activated his smoke fruit ability. An extended fist of smoke, crackling with faint traces of lightning, slammed heavily against the golden bell. Doo. A clear, melodious chime, seeming to resonate deep within the soul, rang out. Amplified by the lingering properties of the rumble fruit's power, the sound of the bell spread, thundering across the entire sky. Chapter 109, Conqueror's Hockey advances to Apex Gold. Nika. Drums of Liberation. Doo. 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 Amplified by the rumble fruit's properties, the chimes of the light of Shandora, the golden bell, thundered across the entire white sea. This is. On Angel Island, the inhabitants, hearing the resonant bell, felt their panicked emotions swiftly calmed. From the direction of Upper Yard, terrifying bolts of lightning had been visible even from Angel Island, accompanied by horrifying thunderclaps. The Sky Beings, having lived under Enel's tyrannical rule for 6 years, immediately assumed their god had been angered. Though they had witnessed many instances of divine retribution. Individuals struck down by lightning for rejecting God's will. This level of divine fury was unprecedented, like a precursor to total annihilation. Angel Island had been thrown into chaos, only prevented from devolving into a disastrous stampede by the efforts of the White Beret peacekeeping force. Until the sound of the golden bell arrived. See, could it be? This is the legendary bell from 400 years ago? McKinley, captain of the White Berets, stared, his eyes wide with disbelief. The White Berets were composed entirely of former members of Ganfall's God's Guard. After Enel defeated them and usurped the title of God, most of the unwilling guards were forced to build the Ark Maxim, their families on Angel Island held hostage. McKinley's smaller faction feigned subservience, becoming the White Berets to maintain order under Enel's rule, strictly enforcing his divine laws. They did this not as true collaborators, but because they had witnessed Enel's terrifying, invincible power and the horrific consequences of defiance. They hoped that by ensuring the Sky Beings obeyed Enel's laws, they could at least preserve their lives. Though McKinley found their actions spineless, it was a means of survival. Now, seeing the terrifying lightning from Upper Yard, and that unprecedented crimson-black hockey lightning that seemed to overpower even Enel's thunder, and finally, an even more dazzling, terrifying display of lightning that blasted holes through the white sea itself. McKinley had been filled with utter panic and confusion. Cheap. Just then, a creature resembling a cross between a horse and a bird flew towards them from the direction of Upper Yard. Lord Ganfall's steed. McKinley, a former member of Ganfall's guard, instantly recognized Pierre, the sky bird who had eaten the horse fruit. Chirp. Pierre dropped a letter before McKinley. This is. McKinley hastily opened it. As he read, tears began to stream down his face. Captain McKinley. What's wrong? The anxious Sky Beings gathered around. Everyone. Enel. Enel has been defeated. McKinley looked up at the crowd, tears flowing freely. If he didn't recognize Ganfall's handwriting, if Pierre hadn't delivered the letter himself, he wouldn't have believed it. The sky beings didn't react with excitement or joy at first. Instead, they instinctively looked up at the sky, fearing divine retribution. The lightning from above. But the sky remained calm. Previously, uttering such blasphemy against God would have brought instant judgment. Now, nothing happened. God Enel is really defeated? The sky beings murmured in disbelief. That's right. Defeated by Mr. Rowan, who came from the Blue Sea. He's an incredible man. And the God's guards forced to labor under Enel. They've all been saved by Mr. Rowan and his crew. Everyone. We are free. McKinley cheered, overcome with emotion. After ensuring the God's guards were safe, Ganfall had Pierre deliver a letter to McKinley detailing the situation in Upper Yard. He knew the terrifying display of power earlier would have thrown Angel Island into chaos. Mr. Rowan? Is that the name of the man from the Blue Sea? He defeated Enel. Rowan. We're free. The sky beings looked at each other, then burst into joyous cheers, embracing one another. McKinley watched the celebrating crowd, tears still streaming, but his smile was one of pure, heartfelt joy. Though I don't know who you truly are. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Rowan. Let Haiti reach him. Rowan commanded, looking at the resonating golden bell, lightning flashing in his eyes. His awakened rumble fruit amplified the sound, channeling the properties of thunder itself into the chimes, guiding them further down through the white sea, piercing the cloud layer, all the way to the Blue Sea below. Jaya Island. Cricket looked up towards the sky. Boss. It's a bell. The sound of a golden bell. Coming from the sky. Shauju and Mazira rushed towards Cricket, yelling excitedly. Ever since Rowan's crew ascended on a knock upstream, Cricket had been sitting by the shore, gazing up at the sky. I hear it. What a beautiful sound. This is the most beautiful sound I've ever heard. Cricket whispered, tears streaming uncontrollably from his eyes. Mr. Rowan and his crew did it. Skypia really exists. Boss. Your ancestor Nolan's city of gold, that giant golden bell. It's really on Skypia. How romantic, boss. Shauju and Mazira cheered, jumping up and down, hugging each other. Yes. Romantic. So romantic. Cricket murmured, slowly standing up. The next moment, he covered his face, his shoulders shaking. They're all right. They actually made it. Thank goodness. Even a great pirate with a bounty over 1.1 billion Bailey. If he fell from the sky, I couldn't imagine. I'm so glad they reached Skypia safely. Cricket sobbed openly. Shauju and Mazir looked at Cricket with understanding smiles. Their boss, more than hearing the golden bell, had been consumed with worry for Mr. Rowan and his crew's safety these past few days. Why didn't he say so earlier? When they asked, Cricket had stubbornly replied. Idiots. How can you speak such discouraging words to dreamers chasing a romantic adventure? Only when everything was settled did their boss finally reveal his true feelings. Awkward, yes, but also very much like a true man of the sea. Thank you. Thank you all so much. Cricket whispered, looking up at the sky, tears still in his eyes, but his smile was one of profound relief and peace. Everything had been worth it. The promise between his ancestor, Noland, and Kalgaur the Great Warrior. After 400 years. Today, 10,000 meters above the sea, resonating down to the Blue Sea, was fulfilled. Condition met, light of Shandora ignited, golden bell rung. Condition met, Nolan's descendant, Montana Blank Cricket, has heard the light of Shandora, the golden bell's chime. A notification appeared. Cricket heard the sound of the golden bell. Rowan smiled. Hearing Rowan's confirmation, Luffy and the others cheered loudly. They had absolute faith in Rowan's words. If Rowan said Uncle Cricket in the Blue Sea heard it, then he definitely heard it. Nolan's descendant has heard the golden bell of Shandora? Wiper trembled violently. He too had no doubt about Rowan's words. This Blue Sea man. Wiper had witnessed his incredible power firsthand. If this man said Nolan's descendant heard the bell, then it was absolute truth. Great warrior Kalgaura. Nolan's descendant heard the golden bell. This is the place closest to heaven. Nolan must have heard it too. Your dying wish is fulfilled. Wiper roared towards the sky, tears streaming down his face. Final condition met, Kalgaur the Great Warrior's descendant, Wiper, acknowledges Nolan's descendant heard the light of Shandora, the golden bell's chime. The 400-year promise. All conditions fulfilled. The spiritual power not, formed by Montana Blank Noland and his descendants, Kalgaur the Great Warrior and his descendants, and the Shandian people's 400-year yearning to light the light of Shandora and ring the golden bell, has been unraveled. Extracting and acquiring all of the above spiritual power. An immense surge of spiritual power was extracted from the very fabric of the world by the strongest rate system. Then, it was woven into a sphere of pure spiritual energy. Almost like a special, conceptual devil fruit. And infused into Rowan's body. Born of the Sea, Apex Gold, activated. Combined with the gratitude and acknowledgement inherent in the above spiritual power. All spiritual power perfectly digested. A notification appeared. Because Rowan had brought this 400-year promise to a perfect conclusion, this spiritual power inherently contained gratitude and acknowledgement towards him. Just like the previous infusion of spiritual power, even this vast amount was instantly and perfectly assimilated by Born of the Sea, Apex Gold, and used to strengthen his Conqueror's Haki. Conqueror's Haki enhanced. Advanced 2, Conqueror's Haki, Apex Gold. Born of the Sea, Apex Gold, activated. Armament Haki enhanced. Advanced 2, Armament Haki, Apex Gold. This immense spiritual power, just as Rowan anticipated, was far greater than the previous surge from the Shandians' 800-year mission of guarding the Poneglyph. It yielded Haki strength equivalent to 6 deep gold trait levels for Rowan, elevating his Conqueror's Haki to the Apex Gold tier. Conqueror's Haki, Apex Gold, complete mastery of Conqueror's Haki, infusion. Can form a perfect Conqueror's coating covering the entire body, providing all-around enhancement to defense and speed. Conqueror's Haki finally reached Apex Gold. The power of Conqueror's coating was now fully mastered by Rowan. The Conqueror's coating was the crimson black aura Kaido perfectly enveloped himself in during the Onigashima War. A power only usable after complete mastery of Conqueror's coating. Perfect utilization of Conqueror's coating's full power granted terrifying enhancements to defense and speed. During Kaido's first clash with Luffy in Onigashima, Luffy in Gear 4th, using full power armament Haki, landed numerous blows on a drunken Kaido, yet Kaido remained unharmed, merely sobering up. This was due not only to his Azure Dragon physique but also the defensive amplification from Conqueror's coating. Before a master of Conqueror's coating, 4 Emperor's commander-level attacks couldn't even breach their defense. The speed boost from Conqueror's coating was also terrifyingly immense. Garp's speed during the Hikinazu battle shocked countless observers. Shanks instantly appearing before Kid from his ship, felling him with a single divine departure. That almost instantaneous speed, appearing like teleportation to the naked eye, also stemmed from Conqueror's coating. At the deep gold tier, Conqueror's Haki primarily served as an offensive tool. Its enhancement to speed and defense wasn't as versatile. But complete mastery, Apex Gold Conqueror's Haki, was a terrifying all-around upgrade. Even against devil fruits granting incredible speed like the Glint fruit, it wouldn't fall short. Speed, defense, attack. A trinity of power. A terrifying enhancement with no weaknesses. This was the true power of Haki that Kaido proclaimed could transcend all. No weaknesses, no shortcomings. Only then could it be called the strongest power on these seas, capable of transcending everything. And previously, Rowan's armament Haki, limited to deep gold, due to insufficient spiritual power, now, under the influence of Born of the Sea, Apex Gold, directly advanced to Apex Gold as well. Reaching the level of Zephyr Black Arm in his prime. Relying solely on armament Haki and hand-to-hand combat, Rowan could now exert combat power at the minimum admiral threshold. After reaching the Apex Gold tier, a new progress bar appeared behind the Conqueror's Haki trait, displaying 1/infinity. The improvement of Conqueror's Haki had no upper limit. As a manifestation of pure spiritual power, its strength was directly proportional to spiritual strength. The physique trait, superhuman demonic physique, Apex Gold, also displayed such a progress bar. The human body held infinite possibilities. Physique improvement also had no theoretical limit. But it was still a physique trait. Unlike Rowan, who could directly plunder other powerhouses' physical energy, others had to build their physique bite by painstaking bite. Even natural monsters like Big Mom showed little significant physical improvement after reaching their peak. Physique became exponentially harder to improve at higher levels. Traits like observation Haki and armament Haki, however, didn't show such a progress bar after reaching Apex Gold. They merely indicated their current tier was equivalent to X number of Apex Gold traits. Rowan's current Apex Gold traits were all at the entry-level 1 stage, still a considerable gap from veteran peak emperors like Kaido. This gap was primarily in Conqueror's Haki and physique energy. Observation Haki trained to its peak allowed briefly seeing the future. Further improvement was unlikely to create a dimension-crushing advantage against another user of ultimate observation Haki. After his Conqueror's Haki reached Apex Gold, Rowan also understood that observation Haki nullification, the ability to overwhelm another's observation Haki, was also a function of Supreme Conqueror's Haki. Armament Haki was similar. After reaching Apex Gold, significant further increases in its power became incredibly difficult. Armament Haki, after all, wasn't as violently tyrannical as Conqueror's Hockey. Further improvement at Apex Gold was possible but extremely hard, unlike Conqueror's Hockey, which still held vast room for growth even at Apex Gold. To enter the final championship round in the one-piece power system, Conqueror's coding was the true entry ticket. Rowan, at this moment, truly held the ticket. And his growth had only just begun. But the gains didn't stop there. Defeated Enel. Liberated Skypia. Through the spiritual transmission channel with Monkey D. Luffy, obtained the essential drums of liberation. The power essential for Nika's awakening. A notification appeared. Chapter 110, 110, Bonus, Nika's Awakening. Hacked upgrade. Rowan examined the feedback from the strongest trait system in his mind. This was it. The desire required for the Nika form to awaken. To awaken the Nika form, two desires must be fulfilled, the desire for absolute freedom, and the desire to grant freedom to all others. Hence the title, Warrior of Liberation. The unique, drum-like heartbeat of Nika, called the Drums of Liberation, also stemmed from this. The true, core desire for Nika's awakening was to grant freedom to everyone. Liberation. By liberating others from their lack of freedom, one moved closer to Nika's awakening. In the original story, Luffy liberated many countries and countless people. Through these acts, Luffy's own desires increasingly aligned with those required for Nika's awakening. True freedom equals liberation? Rowan smiled. Such a desire resonated deeply with his own values, shaped by his past life on Earth. Through the spiritual transmission link established with Luffy via the strongest trait system, this desire for liberation was manifested and acquired by Rowan. This power was essential for Nika's awakening. Though it offered no direct benefit to Rowan himself at present. Rowan could transmit this desire for liberation directly into Luffy's being through their spiritual link. By directly manifesting this desire for liberation via the system, the infusion would be far more potent than Luffy's gradual, perception-based development in the original story. Meaning, Rowan could now accelerate Luffy's Nika form awakening, making it happen even faster than in the original story. Once awakened, Nika Luffy's combat prowess was absurdly exaggerated. Calling it the strongest devil fruit was no overstatement. More importantly, after Nika form awakened, Rowan could also equip its power. And because Rowan was the one transmitting this desire for liberation, accelerating the awakening. Equipping the Nika form wouldn't require the lengthy waiting period like his other equipped traits from Luffy. Through their spiritual transmission channel, it could be equipped instantly. It wouldn't be wrong to say that this Drums of Liberation desire power was now effectively Rowan's to bestow. The reason he hadn't acquired this desire for liberation after liberating Kokoyasi village or Alabasta was because only after his Conqueror's Hockey reached Apex Gold could he fully control his spiritual power, allowing him to perfectly channel this desire into Luffy. If he couldn't transmit it, such a desire, misaligned with Rowan's own devil fruit powers, could have been detrimental. Now, the conditions were met, he could naturally acquire this desire for liberation. And liberating desire from defeating Morgan and freeing Shell's Town. Liberating desire from defeating Clown Buggy and freeing Orange Town. Liberating desire from defeating Arlong and freeing Kokoyasi village. Liberating desire from defeating Crocodile and freeing Alabasta. Conditions met. All above desires for liberation. Their automatically formed spiritual knots have been unraveled. Acquired, all of the above desires for liberation. Throughout their journey, all the desire for liberation from the numerous people and countries Rowan, Luffy, and the crew had freed. At this moment, were all acquired by Rowan. Because Rowan couldn't absorb this desire back then, the strongest trait system, much like Joy Boy storing his Conqueror's Hockey within the ancient robot, had formed a knot with this desire, storing it away. Now that Rowan could channel this desire into Luffy, these knots automatically unraveled, and their power flowed into Rowan. Rowan looked intently at Luffy. The ridiculous power boost granted by strong devil fruits. Rowan had already experienced it with the Rumble fruit. And the Nika form, whose combat performance was even more exaggerated than Rumble, along with its bug-like power of imagination. Once he acquired it, his own strength would undoubtedly receive another massive enhancement. Rowan. Why are you looking at me like that? Luffy shivered. He suddenly felt a chill. Luffy. Want to awaken your devil fruit? Rowan asked with a knowing smile. Eh? Luffy blinked. Then, along with everyone else, he gasped. Devil fruit. Awakening? Everyone stared at Rowan and Luffy in shock. They had personally witnessed how terrifying an awakened top-tier devil fruit could be. Rowan's awakened Rumble fruit was a true natural disaster. Once unleashed, it could trap an entire island in a perpetual thunderstorm, turning it into a forbidden zone for life. Such terrifying power truly seemed like a miracle. And Luffy's devil fruit, hailed by Rowan himself as the strongest. The human fruit model, Sun God Nika Devil Fruit. The only regrettable aspect was that this particular fruit was unique. Before awakening, unlike Rowan's Rumble or Flare fruits which possessed incredible power even unawakened, Luffy's Nika form could only fight using its rubbery body. Its combat performance was quite average among devil fruits. But now, Rowan had a way to awaken Luffy's Nika form? The strongest devil fruit. Thinking of Rowan's assessment of Luffy's fruit, everyone stared wide-eyed. Awakening? Rowan, you can awaken my fruit? Luffy asked, looking at Rowan with delighted surprise. I can accelerate the process. Rowan clarified, not making absolute promises. Even if the desire threshold was met, Luffy's current physique was still too weak. Even handling gears 2nd and 3rd was a struggle, let alone the power of an awakened Nika form. To awaken, especially a mythical zone, the user's physique had to be up to par. That's still great. Shishishi, thanks, Rowan. Luffy grinned cheerfully. He was naturally optimistic and never expected to achieve everything at once. With Rowan's help, Luffy was already incredibly thrilled with his own rate of power increase. If not for Rowan broadening his horizons and helping him get stronger, his power would never have reached its current level. Only with strength could he achieve his dream of becoming king of the pirates. After Rowan opened his eyes to the true scale of power, Luffy understood his current strength was still far too weak. He had to get stronger to achieve his dream. And Rowan's dream also needed his strength. Luffy grinned, but his gaze towards Rowan held a serious resolve. Rowan was the first man to acknowledge his dream. His very first comrade. Throughout their journey, Rowan had contributed the most, even helping them awaken Haki. Luffy wasn't selfish, only dreaming of becoming Pirate King for himself. On his path to that dream, he also wanted to help all his comrades achieve their dreams. He wanted to contribute to Rowan's dream too. For that, he needed even greater strength to be of help to Rowan. Of course, Luffy would never say such things aloud. As he mentioned before, between him and his comrades, such words were unnecessary, they already shared a deep, unspoken understanding. That was true companionship. Well then, experience this properly. The desire that aligns with your devil fruit, required for awakening. Rowan stated. He naturally understood Luffy's thoughts. Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji were indispensable combatants on his own path to achieving his dreams. Their improvement was his improvement. To enter the final championship round, the more high-end combat power on his side, the better. Rowan then channeled the desire for liberation into Luffy's body. VMM. Luffy closed his eyes, feeling the continuous stream of liberating desire flowing into him from Rowan. His understanding of freedom deepened profoundly. After a long while, Luffy finally opened his eyes. Rowan. This desire still needs to be digested. Luffy informed Rowan seriously, relaying his internal sensations. That's normal. Your current strength is still insufficient. Rowan replied with a smile. Luffy's power was still far from the awakening threshold. However, this desire for liberation inherently resonated with the Nika form within Luffy, so there was no risk of conflict. He just needed to slowly assimilate it. Sanji. I'm starving. Luffy suddenly yelled towards Sanji. Hey. Rowan fought so hard and isn't even saying he's hungry, yet you. Sanji retorted, veins popping on his forehead as he looked at a wailing Luffy. I don't know why. After digesting those desires, I'm suddenly super hungry. Luffy clutched his stomach, looking weak. Let me see. Rowan's observation haki spread out. Then, through the spiritual link with Luffy, he quickly reached a conclusion. The Nika form is truly monstrous. As expected of the strongest devil fruit. Rowan exhaled, filled with admiration. What's wrong? Zoro and Sanji, the crew's other two main fighters, looked towards Rowan. While digesting this desire, Luffy's physique is also rapidly strengthening. And his haki is rapidly improving as well. Rowan explained, somewhat astonished himself. The rubbery body of the human fruit model, Sun God Nika Devil Fruit, was merely its form. Its true essence represented accommodating everything, transforming everything. Haki could also be perfectly integrated into Nika's rubbery body. This meant, once Nika awakened, every punch and kick would automatically carry Nika's power, perfectly fused with Conqueror's coding and armament haki. No wonder Nika Luffy's combat performance was so outrageously powerful. Correspondingly, during the awakening process, the desire for liberation not only brought him closer to the awakened state, but Luffy's haki and physique also rapidly improved as he neared Nika's full awakening. This level of hacking the power system was simply too exaggerated. And with Rowan's strongest trait system and fusing Luffy with desire for liberation, it was like a hack within a hack. Eat this first, you glutton. This was supposed to be for Rowan. Sanji, realizing Luffy wasn't just messing around, quickly handed him a pirate lunchbox he had prepared for Rowan. Sanji knew Rowan was going to fight Enel. Though confident in Rowan's strength, as a cook, he had prepared a lunchbox for Rowan just in case, to quickly restore his stamina if needed. Now, Luffy got to benefit. Shishishi. Itadakimasu. Luffy instantly brightened and began eating ravenously. But Rowan. The crew's food budget is running low again. We can't sell the gold from that arc, can we? Sanji asked, looking towards Rowan. Rowan had said the arc maxim had great strategic value. Even Nami, who loved gold most, wouldn't dare suggest dismantling it. Rowan. Those 2 devil fruits you gave me could still sell for a lot, right? Nami raised her hand. Rowan ate a lot. For his sake, Nami was willing to part with the monetary value of those fruits. Mr. Rowan. Everyone. Is gold very valuable in the Blue Sea? The Shandian chieftain suddenly asked. Of course. It's the most valuable metal. Nami immediately replied. This golden bell cannot be given to you, it is the honor of our Shandora. However, look. The pillars supporting the golden bell. Those can be yours. The Shandian chieftain declared, pointing towards the massive golden pillars with a smile. The other Shandians also smiled in agreement. Even Wiper nodded towards Rowan and his crew. Their gratitude towards Rowan was beyond words. The golden bell represented Shandian honor and couldn't be parted with, but giving the golden pillars supporting it to Rowan and his crew was a small token of their immense thanks. Nami, Vivi, Chopper, Usopp, even Sanji and Zoro stared blankly at the 2 enormous golden pillars supporting the golden bell. This was. How much gold was that? We're rich. Yada. We're rich. We're rich. Nami and Vivi shrieked excitedly, jumping up and down, hugging Rowan. Usopp and Chopper also cheered wildly. Sanji and Zoro grinned excitedly. Even Robin offered a bright smile. Gold. Was a pirate's romance. Thank you all. Rowan said, smiling warmly at the Shandian people. He genuinely liked them. It was because of them that his own strength had progressed so rapidly. Looking at the massive golden pillars, Rowan's eyes also held a hint of a smile. Gold wasn't just a pirate's romance. As someone from Earth, he had a particular fondness for it. These massive golden pillars, which Luffy and his crew missed out on in the original story due to leaving prematurely, now truly belonged to them. This gold would make them one of the wealthiest pirate crews on the seas. At least from now on, they wouldn't have to worry about money at all. You are too kind. The Shandian chieftain and the others smiled back. These things couldn't express even a fraction of the gratitude in their hearts. By the way, for your future training, I won't need to use Conqueror's coding to hit you anymore. And Vivi, Robin, spiritual power can also be infused into you. Looks like I need to find 2 more candidates for Conqueror's Haki. Rowan chuckled. Previously, he could only transmit spiritual power by physically striking them with Conqueror's coding because his own Conqueror's Haki hadn't reached Apex Gold, meaning he hadn't fully mastered control over spiritual power. Now, he could directly transmit it via the spiritual channels established with his comrades through the system. Rowan had no strange quirks about needing to beat up Zoro and the others. And this also meant Vivi and Robin could begin learning Haki. Time to hunt down 2 more Conqueror's Haki users. Vivi's eyes lit up with excitement. She yearned to help Rowan, Conqueror's Haki. Vivi certainly desired it. Robin also pressed her lips together, her beautiful eyes shining. As for Nami, Usopp, and Chopper, I'll try to infuse it more slowly. How much you can digest will be up to you. Rowan said, fondly patting Nami's head, then looking somewhat helplessly at Chopper and Usopp. Though he could perfectly infuse spiritual power, their inherently timid natures made it difficult for Nami, Chopper, and Usopp to assimilate it, even if they received it. How much they could improve depended entirely on themselves. But Rowan, if you use Conqueror's coating on us, our physiques will also grow stronger, right? Zoro suddenly asked. Of course. You 3 have rather special physiques. Rowan nodded. Zoro had demonic physique. Sanji had his gradually awakening modified exoskeleton. Being struck by Conqueror's coding could also accelerate their physical evolution. Then bring it on. Zoro and Sanji both grinned fiercely. Excellent. But before that, Rowan suddenly adopted his villain expression. Gulp. Ganfall and the Shandians all swallowed hard. What is Mr. Rowan planning to do? Of course, we have a feast. You bastards. Rowan roared with laughter. Ooh. The Straw Hat Pirates instantly erupted in joyous laughter as well. A pirate victory naturally called for a feast. Chapter 111, The True Great Treasure. Once Ganfall brought the accurate news back to Skypiea, the entire place erupted in joyous celebration. Though they had already learned of Enel's defeat from McKinley's letter, Truly seeing their former, benevolent god return felt like awakening from a long nightmare. Many wept openly. During Enel's 6 years of violent rule, their lives weren't even human. They were merely Enel's playthings. Now, with Ganfall and the other priests back, the Sky Beings finally had a pillar of strength to lean on. Upon learning from Ganfall that Mr. Rowan and his crew, who had defeated Enel, were currently holding a victory feast on Upper Yard, many citizens of Skypia felt conflicted. On one hand, they desperately wanted to see for themselves what kind of blue sea man could defeat Enel, who seemed omnipotent in their eyes. They also yearned to express their profound, inexpressible gratitude to Mr. Rowan. On the other hand, these people had endured Enel's violent rule for 6 long years. They knew firsthand how terrifying Enel's power was. The man who defeated such a being must be even stronger. To them, Enel's power was godlike. Facing Mr. Rowan, who surpassed Enel, naturally instilled an instinctive fear in those who had lived under tyranny for so long. Furthermore, they learned from Ganfall that the Shandians, with whom they had waged war for 400 years, were also present at Mr. Rowan's feast. Previously on Skypia, though many advocated for peace, a hawkish faction insisted on continuing the war with the Shandians. After 400 years, Upper Yard, the Va Earth, or land from the Blue Sea, had become an indispensable part of God's country. Its resources made life on Skypia more prosperous. But now, no one wanted to continue fighting the Shandians. After 6 years under Enel's violent rule, the people of Skypia lived in constant fear, terrified of angering Enel and being smitten by lightning. Those 6 years had left them physically and mentally exhausted. Not a single person desired more war, they only yearned for a peaceful life. Thus, facing the Shandians now, they even felt some apprehension. However, a group of citizens very proactively set out for Upper Yard. The families of the former God's guards who had been forced by Enel to build the Ark Maxim, for 6 long years. They had yearned day and night to see their loved ones. Now, no matter the hardship, they wouldn't give up this chance. Soon, these citizens, following Ganfall, arrived at Upper Yard. The moment they arrived, they were stunned. Drink it all up. Skypian specialty. Big stew. Shishishi. Delicious. Numerous bonfires blazed, surrounded by Luffy, Usopp, and Chopper, performing all sorts of bizarre, hilarious dances. Luffy, his appetite even larger now due to digesting the desire for liberation, had his mouth constantly stuffed with Sanji's cooking, which, combined with his ridiculous dances, sent everyone into fits of laughter. The Shandians performed their traditional Shandoran dances, their faces radiant with the joy of war's end. Even a pack of wolves had joined in, circling a bonfire, performing their own wolfish dances and howling at the sky. On the outskirts of the bonfire circles, an immense serpent, the one they called the Master of the Sky, was actually smiling, as much as a serpent could, its massive body swaying rhythmically, as if dancing to their loved ones. The former God's guards, though covered in bandages, also energetically joined the festivities around the bonfires, their faces beaming with happiness. Ganfall. Come on. The parties started. Rowan called out, seeing Ganfall return with the Sky Beans, raising his cup in a toast, laughing heartily. After the feast began, the pack of dancing wolves, who had encountered Luffy's group in the original story, were drawn by the aroma of food. Dancing wolves. A rare sight indeed. Rowan, with a grand gesture, had Chopper, who could speak to animals, invite them to join. The process was smooth, there was no initial standoffishness from the wolf leader like in the original story. Through Chopper, Rowan learned this wolf leader had coincidentally been nearby when Rowan defeated Enel. Witnessing his power firsthand, the wolf leader now looked at Rowan with immense reverence, leading his pack in a unique wolf dance to express their admiration for such a powerful being. Rowan watched the dancing wolves, laughing heartily. And the giant serpent, the Master of the Sky, who had ancient ties to Noland and Kalga'ra the Great Warrior, was also drawn by the festivities. Hearing the golden bell of Shandor ring, a long-held wish of the serpent's was also fulfilled, and it cried out joyously towards the sky. The serpent, having witnessed Rowan ring the bell, and possessing considerable intelligence, understood Rowan had helped Noland and Kalga'ra fulfill their 400-year promise, and thus, willingly joined the feast. The party here had now become a joyous, raucous gathering of Rowan's crew, Shandians, God's guards, dancing wolves, and the Master of the Sky. A lively feast of different peoples and different species. Beside Rowan, Nami and Vivi watched him with smiling eyes, attentively refilling his cup and offering him food. Even Robin sat nearby, a gentle smile on her face. Mr. Rowan. Ganfall, seeing the lively feast, also smiled from the bottom of his heart. Such a sight hadn't been seen in 400 years. Mr. Rowan? The Sky Beings, who had rushed to reunite with their families upon seeing them, many weeping with joy, now turned their attention towards the man Ganfall addressed. The one who defeated the invincible Enel. Mr. Rowan? Mr. Just call me Rowan. Come on, join the party. Rowan called out, laughing towards the Skypian newcomers. The Skypians hesitated, looking somewhat bewildered. This handsome young man was Mr. Rowan? Shishishi. Rowan's right. Let's party. This is a pirate feast. Watch this. Luffy activated his rubber powers, stretching his mouth and nose to absurd lengths, then stuck a giant tree branch through them. Gamu Gamu no. Chopstick dance. Max. Luffy's appearance left everyone stunned for a moment. Then. Ha 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 ha. Amazing. How can he stretch his face like that? Is that a devil fruit power? SUG. Laughter erupted all around. Rowan's crew, the Shandians, the Sky Beans, even the Dancing Wolves and the Master of the Sky. All laughed until tears streamed down their faces at Luffy's antics. Encouraged by the laughter, Luffy danced even more wildly, performing his bizarre chopstick dance. Usopp and Chopper, seeing this, though lacking rubber powers, immediately joined in. The nostril chopstick trio clowned around exuberantly by the bonfire, bringing the atmosphere to a fever pitch. Swept up in the joyous mood, the Sky Beans quickly joined the celebration, their faces soon also lit with genuine, happy smiles. Well? Wiper. The Shandian chieftain looked at Wiper, who sat somewhat silently, holding a cup of wine. See? No one once swore anymore. The chieftain said, looking out at the joyful bonfire feast, a heartfelt smile on his own face. We Shandians are born for battle. Wiper muttered, still struggling to reconcile his lifelong beliefs. Clink. Wiper looked up, startled, as Rowan approached and clinked his cup against his. Baka, idiot. On such a happy day, how can you wear such a gloomy face? Drink up. Rowan laughed, then snatched Wiper's cup and began pouring the wine straight into Wiper's mouth. Not satisfied, he grabbed an entire barrel of wine and unceremoniously dumped it over Wiper's head. Ha 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 ha. Seeing the drenched, sputtering Wiper, Aisa, who had been very afraid of him earlier, couldn't help but burst out laughing. Ha 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 ha. Wiper's comrades, the Shandian warriors, also roared with laughter. They had never seen Wiper like this. Utterly bewildered, soaked to the bone with wine. Wiper's expression darkened. Aisa instantly yelped, hiding behind Rocky. The Shandian warriors also quieted, looking at Wiper uncertainly. But the next moment. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. Wiper drained the remaining mouthful of ale in his cup, mostly what had streamed down his hair and face from Rowan's dousing, then threw his head back and roared with laughter. I must look ridiculous. Ha ha ha. Wiper looked at his comrades and laughed, tears of mirth streaming down his face. As a descendant of Kalgar the Great Warrior, he had never been so humiliated, doused with wine like a common drunkard. But seeing his comrades, seeing Aisa, laughing so genuinely, Wiper felt no shame, only an overwhelming sense of joy. Ha 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 ha. Seeing Wiper finally laugh, all the Shandians roared with laughter too. See? A pirate feast is all about laughing. You bastard. Rowan declared, laughing heartily at Wiper. Shishishi. Wiper. You try this too. Luffy yelled, gesturing towards his nostril chopsticks. Idiot. As if I'd do something like that. Wiper retorted angrily. Ha ha ha. Wiper. You're pretty good. How'd you get such a big branch up your nose? Ha 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 ha. I can't take it anymore. Wiper, you. Ha 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 ha. Seeing Wiper now enthusiastically joining Luffy and Usopp in the nostril chopstick dance. The Shandians laughed until tears streamed down their faces. Some even pounded the ground in hysterics. Aisa, who had been so afraid of Wiper, and Rocky, who had been wary of his previous disregard for his comrades' lives, looked at each other and also burst into laughter, tears of joy in their eyes. They had never seen Wiper like this before. Pretty good, Wiper. Luffy grinned at him. Humphrey. Wiper snorted dismissively, but combined with his ridiculous nostril chopstick-adorned face, it only made everyone laugh even harder. The Sky Beans watching from afar first stared incredulously, then also joined in the laughter. Wiper, the strongest Shandian warrior, who, before Enel's reign, had clashed most frequently with their god's guard, known as the Berserker for his ferocity in battle. It was hard to believe this man, soaked in wine and performing a comical chopstick dance, was that same fearsome warrior. Hearing the crowd's laughter, seeing his comrades doubled over, seeing Aisa no longer afraid of him. Wiper's face also broke into a genuine smile. Doing this. Guess Rowan's wine really did mess with my head. The sound of his comrades laughing like this. How long had it been since he heard it? Or perhaps, Had he ever heard it before? After all, they had been born into a state of perpetual war. Such unrestrained joy truly felt like a first. "Well done, Wiper," Rowan said, laughing as Wiper finally stepped down from his performance. "It was just your wine messing with my head." Wiper grumbled, though a faint blush crept up his neck. He had acted on impulse, and now felt a bit embarrassed. "But it feels pretty good, right?" Rowan laughed. "Yeah," Wiper admitted, smiling. "If you want to fight, there will be opportunities. You Shandians are our natural allies," Rowan stated, looking at Wiper with a meaningful smile. Wiper and the Shandian elites instantly focused their attention on Rowan. "Have you forgotten? What you guard is the Poneglyph," Rowan reminded them. "Meaning? 800 years ago, their ancestors also fought against the world government?" Robin interjected, stepping forward. "The Poneglyph at the base of the Golden Bell, and Roger's inscription in the ancient script." Robin had naturally seen them. Rowan had already told her this information, so while Robin and the Shandian chieftain were still deeply moved, it wasn't as shocking as it would have been in the original story. It merely further validated Rowan's words. "Exactly. We are destined to clash with the world government. And you?" Rowan looked towards Wiper and the others. "Even sacrificing our lives would not be enough to repay your great kindness. Besides, it is our ancestors' will." Wiper and the Shandian elites declared solemnly, performing the traditional Shandian warrior's salute to Rowan. It signified an oath of allegiance, to follow him even unto death. "Ha ha ha. Then I'll teach you hockey in due time." Rowan laughed heartily, looking at Wiper and the others. The foundation for his grand fleet could begin forming now. To take down the world government, the more combat power on his side, the better. And the Shandians, chosen as guardians by the world government's ancient enemies. Their potential was worth training. Teaching them hockey could create a formidable fighting force. But for today, let's just sing, drink, and dance, Rowan declared, gesturing towards the bonfires with a wide grin. "Ooh." As news spread from the returning Skypeans, more and more Skypeans flocked up her yard. Eventually, everyone joined in, creating an unprecedented feast. Rowan now danced by a bonfire with Nami and Vivi, a wide, contented smile on his face. "Rowan, you seem very happy," Nami and Vivi commented, noticing their beloved's mood, their eyes filled with affection. Nearby, Robin, though not dancing, watched Rowan's every move, a gentle smile playing on her lips. "Yeah," Rowan replied, listening to the joyous laughter, watching the unprecedented feast, and smiled. Amidst this joyous laughter, Rowan, who had personally infused the desire for liberation into Luffy, could clearly sense Luffy's assimilation of that desire accelerating. Sun God Nika, the legendary warrior of liberation, was also a symbol of laughter. Legend said wherever Nika went, everyone would laugh. With his feast underway, as the sounds of joy and laughter increased, Luffy's digestion of the desire for liberation also sped up. Especially with the joining of different peoples. Shandians, Skypeans, and different races. The Dancing Wolves, the master of the Sky Serpent. This assimilation rate became astonishing. Different races, different peoples. Feasting together, laughing together. Rowan stood at the heart of this celebration, looking at Nami and Vivi, their beautiful faces illuminated by the bonfire light. Nearby, Robin slowly approached, coming to stand beside him. Rowan smiled, a genuine, heartfelt smile. One Piece definitely exists. Because this is the true great treasure, Rowan declared, laughing freely. Chapter 112, Bonus, The Clabbatterman. See you soon, Okiji. The unprecedented bonfire feast raged from night into day, then from day back into night. Joyful laughter echoed ceaselessly until every race present, was utterly exhausted. As the bonfires slowly died down, the grand celebration gradually drew to a close. Nami and Vivi lay peacefully on either side of Rowan's chest, their beautiful faces adorned with blissful, contented smiles. Robin too had fallen asleep, her head uncharacteristically resting on Rowan's lap, her hands subconsciously clutching his torso. A position that clearly brought her immense comfort and security. Rowan opened his eyes, shaking his slightly aching head, then smiled fondly at the two lovely sleeping faces beside him and Robin clinging to his leg. This epic party. Even he had had a bit too much to drink. The subsequent headache wasn't pleasant, but the joy of the drinking itself was unforgettable. Rowan carefully extracted his now numb arm from beneath Nami and Vivi's heads, shaking it out. Looking at Robin, sleeping so peacefully with a serene smile, still hugging his leg. Rowan found her unexpectedly adorable. He smiled and playfully poked her cheek. Robin frowned slightly, like a little girl whose dreams were disturbed, and slowly opened her eyes. "Good morning." Rowan greeted her with a smile. Robin looked at Rowan, then at her current position, and her face instantly flushed crimson. But her hands subconsciously tightened their grip on Rowan, reluctant to let go. She had slept so soundly, so peacefully. More peacefully than at any time since the O'Hara incident. Since she was 8, witnessing the horror of O'Hara under the Buster Call, burdened with a 79 million Bailey bounty, she had endured countless betrayals and pursuits, even with her flower fruit. Never a truly restful night's sleep. But this sleep had been incredibly sweet, incredibly secure. In her dreams, there were no horrors of O'Hara, no pursuits, no nightmares of being captured by the world government. Only endless tranquility and sweetness. And it was all because she was leaning on Rowan. Robin cherished this feeling, reluctant to let it go. Rowan. Robin. Good morning. Nami and Vivi stirred awake. Nami blinked, looking at Rowan, then at Robin still clinging to his leg. Ah! Like a startled rabbit, Robin instantly let go of Rowan. Seeing Robin like this, Nami and Vivi stared, momentarily stunned. Especially Vivi. Miss All-Sunday, who always seemed so enigmatic and unreadable in Vivi's eyes, was now acting like a little girl. Robin looked at Nami and Vivi, wanting to say something but unsure where to begin. But just then. SHH. Rowan placed a finger to his lips, his expression mysterious. Thump. Thump. The clear sound of a wooden mallet striking, amplified by his rumble fruit-enhanced observation hockey, reached Rowan's ears. Rowan? Nami, Vivi, and even Robin looked at Rowan, confused. They didn't possess his enhanced hockey. Follow me. Rowan said, standing up and walking towards the slightly misty white sea. Aboard the Going Merry, shrouded in light mist, a figure in a raincoat, wielding a wooden mallet, was diligently repairing the ship. Under its ministrations, the wings that had been attached for their ascent to Skypea vanished, and the Merry gradually returned to her original form. The way she looked when Kaya gifted her to them. That's. Nami stared incredulously at the figure. The Clabbatterman. It's Mary's spirit. Rowan murmured, looking at the figure in the raincoat, a wave of emotion washing over him. The ship's spirit, whose appearance brought tears to countless One Piece fans in the original story, had finally manifested. More importantly, this spirit was born from the ship Kaya had given them. Thinking of that beautiful lady from Syrup Village, a gentle smile touched Rowan's lips. The day I fulfill my promise and return to take Kaya to sea is not far off. Rowan's eyes gleamed. Nami, Vivi, and even Robin pressed their lips together, watching the figure in the mist diligently repairing their ship, the Going Merry. This legendary spirit, said to only appear on ships deeply loved and cared for by their crew, had been born on their ship. Merry. Rowan called out softly. R. Rowan. N. Nami. V. Vivi. R. Robin. Merry looked towards them, speaking somewhat haltingly, but accurately naming each of them. Hearing her name, Robin covered her mouth, tears welling in her eyes. The ship's spirit remembered her name? Did even Merry acknowledge her as a true member of this crew? In that moment, Robin felt the darkness in her heart, which Rowan had slowly been dispelling, recede even further. You've only just been born. You probably can't talk much yet, can you, Merry? Rowan asked with a kind smile. Merry nodded, smiling back. I can't appear where there are many people. Merry spoke in broken sentences, but Rowan understood. As a somewhat ethereal ship's spirit, she arguably didn't exist in the same plane as humans. This was likely why Clabbattermans always appeared amidst mist. Don't worry. I'll figure something out. Rowan stated seriously. So what if they weren't the same species? After dealing with the world government, they would definitely have an unprecedented feast. A final feast. And Merry would absolutely be there. With the strongest rate system, Rowan was certain he could make it happen. Thank you, Rowan. Without your ability, I would have been hurt much worse. Merry's voice was filled with a cheerful lilt. Unfortunately, none of us are shipwrights. We can't properly modify you. Don't worry, when we reach the next island, we'll definitely find the best shipwright to make you even stronger. Rowan promised earnestly. After acquiring the munch fruit, Rowan had made some minor reinforcements to the Merry, focusing primarily on strengthening the wood of her keel. But Rowan wasn't a shipwright, he knew little about ship modification. Carelessly using the munch fruit for major alterations could lead to unforeseen problems. So, Rowan had been very restrained, only focusing on the keel. Merry nodded, smiling. She too wished to accompany Rowan and the others on their voyages for much longer. But on the Grand Line, her hull was inherently ill-suited for such demanding conditions. If not for Rowan using his munch fruit to strengthen her somewhat, she might already be struggling to sail. I have to go now," Mary said, looking at the gradually dissipating mist with a smile. "See you next time, Mary," Rowan replied, smiling. As the mist cleared, Mary's figure vanished, leaving only the Going Mary, now restored to her original appearance. "Incredible, Mary." Nami smiled softly. Vivi and Robin also smiled. "All right, let's get ready. Time to leave this place." "Nami, how's the log pose?" Rowan asked. "All set." Nami held up her wrist. The log pose needle was now pointing downwards. Towards the next island, in the blue sea. "Let's go," Rowan commanded. Only in Water 7 could the Mary be properly modified and repaired. Nami, Vivi, and even Robin, buoyed by Mary's appearance, eagerly anticipated their next journey. When Rowan told Luffy and the others about Mary's appearance, Luffy, Usopp, and Chopper immediately started yelling, clamoring to see her. But the newly born ship's spirit couldn't manifest without mist. A single sharp look from Rowan quickly silenced them. However, Luffy and the others were now incredibly excited for their next stop, all shouting about finding the best shipwright to upgrade Mary. With so much gold, their crew was very wealthy. Next came preparations for leaving Skypiea. Nami's Climatact had already been upgraded to a sorcery Climatact. With the munch fruit's ability and the assistance of the Skypieans, Usopp found many dials perfectly suited for it. Leveraging Usopp's inventor trait, the thunderclouds created by the awakened rumble fruit were successfully integrated into the sorcery Climatact. Because Rowan himself used the munch fruit for the process, the normally violent thunderclouds became remarkably docile, like Zeus, and were smoothly incorporated. Now, Nami just needed to continuously practice using her new weapon. Rowan also conducted hockey training for Wiper and the other elite Shandian warriors. Since they were now allies, Rowan could naturally use their spiritual link channel to infuse them with spiritual power. Wiper successfully awakened Armament Hockey and Observation Hockey. Kamakiri, Brem, and Genbo awakened only Armament Hockey. Observation Hockey was generally harder to awaken. Rocky, surprisingly, like Usopp in the original story, awakened only Observation Hockey. Rowan didn't completely give up on the Shandians who hadn't awakened Hockey. Instead, like Joy Boy 800 years ago, he tied a knot of his own spiritual power, storing it within the statue of Kalga'ura the Great Warrior, one of Shandora's landmarks. Thanks to the system, this spiritual knot was even more better than Joy Boy's. Joy Boy's knot, once untied, released all its hockey at once. But Wiper and the others could gradually untie Rowan's knot, drawing out portions of the stored spiritual power as needed. Whether to enhance their own spiritual strength or to help other physically qualified Shandian warriors awaken hockey, it was very convenient. And because a link was established, Rowan could replenish the spiritual power in the knot at any time via the system, without needing to physically return. Now, Wiper and the other elites just needed to train the rest of the Shandian warriors. The Shandians possessed formidable physiques. With Rowan's help, before the final war, they would become a force not to be underestimated in Rowan's arsenal. Rowan also equipped the physique traits from Wiper and the others, but the gains were minimal. After his own physique reached Apex Gold, these lower-tier physique traits offered little improvement. To achieve significant further physical enhancement, besides slow, diligent training, Rowan would need to plunder high-tier traits from truly powerful individuals. During this period, Rowan and his crew also enjoyed the unique sights and culture of Skypiea. Its distinctive food and fruits, its unique architecture. The beautiful, dreamlike Sky Island, freed from Enel's tyrannical rule, had regained its original splendor, much to the delight of Luffy and the others, who exclaimed in awe constantly. Rowan, accompanying Nami, Vivi, and Robin, watching their happy smiles as they experienced the beautiful sights, also smiled. Girls, after all, loved beautiful things. Rowan enjoyed it too, experiencing the unique charm of this land 10,000 meters above the sea. A truly magical experience. Before leaving, one final preparation was needed, storing the Arc Maxim and the giant golden pillars. The Going Merry certainly couldn't carry these colossal objects. Fortunately, Rowan had the munch fruit. Combining it with his smoke fruit, he could consume both massive items and then store them as wisps of smoke. Since this was an inherent ability of the munch fruit, the continuous stamina drain was minimal. Negligible for Rowan's current Apex Gold physique. He could store them easily. The synergistic use of multiple devil fruit abilities was truly miraculous and convenient, making Luffy, Usopp, and Chopper, the Curiosity Trio, gape in awe, loudly praising Rowan's awesomeness. All preparations complete, the Going Merry set sail once more. Thank you. Truly, thank you. As the Merry weighed anchor and sailed towards the Cloud End, Shandians, Angel Island citizens, The dancing wolves, even the master of the sky, all came to see them off. A countless crowd chased after the Mary, their faces filled with profound gratitude, escorting the ship on its departure. After the unprecedented bonfire feast, the Shandians and Angel Islanders reached a consensus. Ganful would resume his role as leader, guiding them towards a better life. Upper Yard would become a shared land for both Shandians and Angel Islanders. The 400-year war finally, truly, ended. Their gratitude towards Rowan and his crew was beyond words. They could only express a fraction of it through this heartfelt farewell. Goodbye. We'll definitely meet again. Luffy grinned, waving enthusiastically at the crowd. The others also smiled, looking at the people whose faces were now filled with joy, free from war. Rowan smiled, watching the crowd escorting the Mary. This feeling was very good. Rowan. Wiper's shout made Rowan and the others look back. We will become stronger. When you need us, use the power stored in Kalgara's statue to let us know. No matter where you are, we will come and fight for you. Wiper yelled, raising his right hand, his expression fiercely determined. Behind him, the Shandian warriors all raised their right hands, their faces equally resolute. I look forward to your growth. Rowan laughed heartily. Then, amidst the farewells of the Shandians, Angel Islanders, Dancing Wolves, and the Master of the Sky, a giant octopus balloon unfurled above the Going Merry, grasping the ship and slowly descending towards the blue sea. Rocky? Aisa blinked, looking at Rocky, who lingered, unwilling to leave. Let's go. I need to train. Rocky said, taking a deep breath, her eyes shining with determination. She deeply admired Rowan, but knew with her current strength, she would only be a burden. Fortunately, she still had a chance to contribute to Rowan's cause. Before that, she had to train relentlessly. Aisa. Tell me again. About the feeling of observation hockey. Splash. With the help of the octopus balloon, the Going Merry landed safely back on the blue sea. We're back. The sea. The crew cheered, looking around at the familiar sights and sounds, all smiling. Rowan took a deep breath, a crimson-black light flaring in his eyes. See you soon. Okiji. Chapter 113, 113, Human Fruit Awakened. Rowan the Ultimate Human. Splash. Rowan dived into the sea, feeling the familiar embrace of the ocean's energy. Crimson-black light flashed intensely in his eyes, a look of profound contentment on his face. Those Skypia also contained sea energy particles. The sea stone particles carried skyward by air currents, forming the Sky Islands. Compared to the true ocean, that energy was incredibly dilute. After acquiring the Born of the Sea, Apex Gold, trait, Rowan had truly become the sea's favored child. Enveloped by the ocean's energy, it felt like being in the most comfortable cradle imaginable, filling him with boundless confidence and power. While Rowan's adaptability allowed him to function comfortably even in Skypia's environment, being immersed in the energy-rich ocean was still the most pleasant. And that wasn't all. The recovery speed of my spiritual power has increased. The deep crimson-black light in Rowan's eyes pulsed. The Born of the Sea trait, allowing him to become the sea's favorite, directly harnessing its energy to continuously strengthen his spiritual power and, consequently, his hockey. Had evolved further after his Conqueror's hockey reached the Apex Gold tier and he fully mastered its use. It now drastically accelerated the recovery rate of his spiritual power during combat. By drawing upon the ubiquitous sea energy particles in the atmosphere, he could regenerate his spiritual power, and thus, his hockey reserves. Conqueror's hockey, as the most violent and tyrannical power on these seas, naturally possessed absolute top-tier destructive force. A full-power Conqueror's coating strike could instantly defeat 4 Emperor's commander-level fighters, who often couldn't even withstand a single blow. But correspondingly, its consumption of both spiritual power and physical stamina was immense. Rowan's Conqueror's hockey, having only just reached the Apex Gold tier, lacked the sheer depth and resilience of veteran emperors like Kaido or Shanks. For short bursts, relying on his awakened Rumble fruit and full-power Conqueror's coating, Rowan was confident he could fight on equal footing with anyone. But once his Conqueror's hockey was depleted, he would face a situation similar to Nika Luffy on Egghead in the original story. While he wouldn't become as shriveled and exhausted as Nika Luffy, losing the power of Conqueror's coating would still leave him vulnerable against the absolute strongest opponents. Hockey was the manifestation of spiritual power. Recovering spiritual power and hockey required complete stillness, deep sleep. In the original story, when Luffy exhausted his hockey, he had to rely on Zoro to buy him time to recover, leaving him completely defenseless. Rowan disliked leaving his fate to chance. And currently, Zoro and Luffy were far from strong enough to hold off peak-tier opponents for him. But now, this problem was significantly mitigated. During combat, The Born of the Sea trait could also utilize atmospheric sea energy particles to recover spiritual power and hockey. After his conqueror's hockey reached apex gold, this trait had become even more potent. Stamina-wise, his awakened Rumble fruit enhanced his combat stamina recovery. Spiritual power-wise, Born of the Sea enhanced his combat spiritual power and hockey recovery. Rowan's endurance and sustained combat capability had massively improved. This gave Rowan even greater confidence for his upcoming confrontation with Aokiji. A fierce crimson-black light flashed in Rowan's eyes. This battle. Rowan would, of course, give it his all. He had now officially obtained his ticket to the championship round, becoming one of the true peak powerhouses on these seas. With such strength, he naturally needed a whetstone to further hone his combat skills. Aokiji was the perfect opponent. Aokiji was undeniably incredibly strong, one of the sea's pinnacle fighters. But his strength was still a notch below the absolute top tier like Akainu, Shanks, or Kaido. This made him an ideal opponent for Rowan's current level. Furthermore, Aokiji was one of the primary sources of Robin's deepest psychological trauma. Though Robin's fears had lessened considerably thanks to Rowan's strength and the knowledge he imparted. Without witnessing firsthand Rowan confronting Aokiji, that shadow would always remain a significant hidden vulnerability. On Skypiea, Rowan had also tried to help Robin awaken hockey, but without success. The existence of that psychological trauma was a major inhibiting factor. Rowan was determined to help Robin completely shatter that psychological barrier. Whoosh! Rowan finished his daily ocean swim and training, bursting out from the sea. After his physique and hockey all reached apex gold, combined with Born of the Sea, Rowan could dive to extreme depths, using the immense water pressure to train his physique. Rowan. Seeing him step onto the deck, Vivi and Nami quickly offered him towels they had prepared. Rowan took a towel, wiping the seawater from his body. Though he could instantly vaporize the water by transforming into a flame human with his flare fruit ability. The towels, carrying the unique, delicate scents of the two women, clearly hand-washed by Vivi and Nami themselves. Rowan rather enjoyed this. We should be reaching the next island soon. I wonder if there will be a ship right there. Nami and Vivi commented, smiling as they watched Rowan use their towels. A shipwright? We'll have to wait until the island after the next one for that. Rowan replied with a smile, not bothering to be mysterious. The next island after Skypiea was Long Land. An island with unique geography and many bizarrely elongated creatures. The main event there in the original story was the Davy Back fight against the Foxy Pirates. A game where losers were stripped of comrades, pride, and even their Jolly Roger. Losing everything precious to a pirate. Rowan had no interest in such games. Back in the East Blue, when he defeated Krieg, Rowan had already dismissed such childish games as a pathetic way to talk about losing everything. His observation hockey, amplified by the Rumble fruit, spread out across the sea. In a shadowy cove nearby, a pirate ship. Its Jolly Roger, a skull with a conspicuous red nose, was scouting for its next game target. The Foxy Pirates. Specializing in using the Davy Back fight to steal crewmates and flags from other pirate crews. Ugh. Captain. You're not seriously thinking of targeting that ship, are you? Did you even see their flag? Portia, the Foxy Pirates navigator and cheerleader, whined in her distinctively cloying voice, her eyes filled with fear. The Straw Hat Pirates. Captain is Straw Hat Luffy, 300 million Bailey bounty. They have over 4 members with bounties exceeding 100 million. More importantly, they have that man, hailed as the most vicious super great pirate on the seas today. Sky Sovereign Rowan, bounty 1,135 million Bailey. If we try to mess with a super great pirate like that, we'll be wiped out instantly. Hamburg, a Foxy Pirates combatant, snickered nervously, habitually covering his mouth, though his forehead was drenched in cold sweat. Don't be ridiculous. A super great pirate of that caliber. And you want to play games with him? Even if we're shamed and have to quit being pirates, we're not suicidal. I'm abandoning ship. You can spread whatever rumors you want about us not following the rules of the sea. The pirates Foxy had won through previous Davy Back fights instantly erupted in panic. What kind of sick joke was this? That was the most vicious, evil pirate on the seas. Killer of a warlord, bounty over 1.1 billion. Some were even comparing him to the 4 emperors who ruled the New World. Playing a Davy Back fight with a monster like that? Angering him meant certain, unknowable death. They had only joined Foxy's crew because of the sea's unspoken rule. Losers of a Davy Back fight who didn't honor the agreement became absolute laughingstocks. An unacceptable fate for a pirate. But compared to their lives, that hardly mattered. If they died, everything was lost. Facing Sky Sovereign Rowan, the 1.1 billion Bailey pirate, screw the rules of the sea. Bastards. So what if his bounty is over 1.1 billion? Everyone on these seas must abide by the rules of the Davy back fight. Otherwise, they'll be the laughingstock of the entire ocean. If we can get that super great pirate to join our crew. Think about it, everyone. That legendary great treasure, One Piece. We'll have a chance to claim it. When it comes to understanding the Davy back fight, even that great pirate can't compare to me. Foxy, captain of the Foxy Pirates and user of the slow fruit, declared, a mad glint in his eyes. A once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. If he could just acquire this 1.1 billion Bailey pirate, he could use that super pirate's strength to chase the ultimate treasure, One Piece. There wouldn't be another chance like this. Foxy was confident no one knew the Davy back fight better than him. It was how he survived. He too had ambitions. But the next moment. VMM. Boom. Tyrannical crimson black lightning erupted violently in the sky above the Foxy Pirates. The entire Foxy crew stared up in horror, then their eyes rolled wide, and they collapsed unconscious. Conqueror's hockey. Foxy Pirates. Annihilated. Plunder. Whoosh. Foxy's slow fruit ability manifested as a stream of purple light, merging into Rowan's body. The Parimsh's slow fruit, while decent, had many weaknesses. It could only be fired as a light beam via a specific hand gesture and was useless against anything that emitted light. Meaning ineffective against the glint or rumble fruits. Strong hockey users could also shatter its effects. The unawakened slow fruit was of little use to Rowan. Its contained physique energy was also negligible for Rowan now. But for a clown like Foxy, who constantly stole others' comrades through games and delusionally thought he could use Rowan to plunder One Piece, Rowan would let him taste what it felt like to have everything stolen. This was true plundering. Rowan, did you just use hockey? Luffy asked curiously. It's nothing. Just some insignificant, delusional small-timer. Rowan replied calmly. Rowan. That line had such a super great pirate vibe. So cool. Chopper exclaimed, his eyes sparkling with admiration. Before me, Captain Usopp, you are but a small fry. Jaya. Usopp mimicked Rowan, though his attempt lacked Rowan's powerful aura, looking rather comical. You're not doing it right at all, Usopp. Watch me. Luffy, inspired, joined Usopp and Chopper in their antics. What a convenient ability. The rumble fruit's amplification of observation hockey. Zoro and Sanji commented admiringly. They hadn't sensed Foxy's presence at all. Such long-range takedowns were indeed impressive. Alright, let's go check out this island. Rowan stated with a calm smile. Aokiji wasn't on this island. That man was waiting for them on an uninhabited island just before Water 7. Trait acquired, route, location of Aokiji. The route had already appeared in Rowan's mind, they didn't even need to wait for Long Land's log post to set. Rowan and the crew stepped onto Long Land. The animals here were indeed bizarre. Every creature's body was unnaturally elongated. Chopper, however, was delighted. Having always felt self-conscious about his blue nose, seeing these equally different animals made him incredibly happy. Having fun, Chopper? Rowan asked, placing Chopper on his shoulder, smiling as he gently petted Chopper's smooth fur. Chopper was too adorable. Rowan. The sea really is so vast. Chopper purred, nuzzling against Rowan, his eyes closing into happy crescents. Sailing with Rowan and the others was the best. On this vast sea, he wasn't an outcast. More importantly, he had Rowan and the others, his precious comrades. Human fruit equipping complete. On Skypiea, that grand feast, the joining of the dancing wolves and the master of the sky, had brought the human fruits equipping process to its final stages. Now, at this moment, it completed. Chopper. I've obtained your power too. Rowan murmured, a keen light flashing in his eyes. Eh? Rowan, you got the human fruits power? The others instantly looked at Rowan, their eyes shining with curiosity. This power, which Rowan called the ultimate human. They were incredibly intrigued. Ah. This devil fruit's power is truly remarkable. Rowan commented, a spark of profound wisdom glinting in his eyes. And physique meets awakening conditions. Desire meets awakening conditions. Human fruit. Awakened. The human fruit contained the desire to be human. Rowan, having transmigrated from Earth, could be said to have lived 2 lives as a human. That desire was already more than fulfilled. Under the effect of the strongest trait system. The human fruit. Awakened. VMM. Rowan tore off his upper shirt. Under the stunned gazes of the crew, Rowan's body began to expand. In an instant, he transformed into a giant. Even larger than Dory and Brogy. And behind him, coiled the distinctive flame clouds unique to Awakened Zone Devil Fruit users. Rowan clenched his fists, feeling the surging new power within him, his eyes blazing with keen light. Strength, skin durability, jumping power, endurance. All aspects of human physical capability. Massively enhanced. His physique energy, having acquired this awakened devil fruit, also received a massive boost. More importantly, humanity's most crucial attribute, intelligence, was also vastly enhanced. Rowan had become the ultimate human. Chapter 114, Bonus, Encounter. The world government's strongest combatant. SUG. Luffy and Usopp roared, staring at Rowan, who had transformed into a colossal giant. Giant. Super giant. So awesome, Rowan. Usopp cheered, jumping up and down. After witnessing Dory and Brogy's honorable warrior battles on Little Garden, Usopp's dream of becoming a brave warrior of the sea had affirmed. One day, he too would be a man embodying warrior honor, journeying to the giant's village, Elbaf. Now, seeing Rowan as a super giant, Usopp was incredibly thrilled. SUG. Super SUG. Rowan, how does it feel? So cool. What's that flame cloud? Luffy, equally ecstatic, circled Rowan excitedly. Becoming a super giant was just too cool. Luffy had already developed Gear 3rd, allowing him to gigantify parts of his body. His most powerful move. Developing such a gigantification technique, based on his rubber body's properties, was partly influenced by Dory and Brogy on Little Garden. Luffy, too, deeply admired giants as symbols of warriors. Now, seeing Rowan as a super giant, Luffy was beyond excited. Especially that ribbon-like flame cloud coiling behind Rowan. Combined with his super giant form, it looked unbelievably cool, making Luffy's eyes sparkle. Feels pretty good. Rowan replied with a smile. Awakened zone forms granted immense physical energy. Even for Rowan, whose physique had already reached apex gold, the enhancement was substantial. His physique energy doubled. Previously, Rowan's physique trait had just entered apex gold, at the 1 level. Now, after acquiring the awakened human fruit, his physique trait advanced to the 2 level within apex gold. Zone devil fruits, while perhaps offering the least direct combat power increase among the 3 types, provided the greatest physique enhancement upon awakening. Born of the Sea, apex gold, activated. Armament Haki enhanced. His armament Haki, under the influence of the Born of the Sea trait, also grew stronger. Though it didn't double in power due to the inherent limits of armament Haki itself, it became significantly denser and more potent. After acquiring Conqueror's coating, the relative importance of armament Haki had diminished somewhat for Rowan, especially since Born of the Sea allowed him to recover Conqueror's Haki during battle. However, once Luffy's Nika form awakened and Rowan equipped its power, things would change entirely. Nika's rubbery body merely resembled rubber. Its true meaning was the ability to accommodate and reshape everything. The Nika form could perfectly fuse Conqueror's coating, armament Haki, and devil fruit powers. Every punch, every kick, would carry the full might of Nika. This power level was inherently a tier above others. Add the bug-like power of imagination, and Nika Luffy's combat strength upon awakening became absurdly exaggerated. Calling it the strongest devil fruit was no overstatement. So, enhancing armament Haki would be greatly beneficial for Rowan in the future. And even now, it had its uses. While Born of the Sea could recover spiritual power, and thus Conqueror's Haki, in battle, full power Conqueror's coating consumed immense spiritual energy. Stronger armament Haki could provide a buffer, allowing time for Conqueror's Haki to recover. As for how to manage the timing, switching between armament Haki and Conqueror's coating? The human fruit was the perfect tool for that. What set humans apart from other creatures, allowing them to become rulers of the world, was primarily the power of intellect. And the human fruit enhanced human intelligence. Upon awakening, this enhancement reached an even higher level. Rowan felt his mind clear, a brilliant light of wisdom shining in his eyes. With enhanced intellect, his thoughts became sharper, his brain processed information more efficiently, allowing for deeper levels of strategic thinking. Sengoku owed his title largely to the Buddha-like wisdom granted by his human fruit model, Great Buddha Devil Fruit. Relying on intellect and strategy alone, Sengoku was feared by many great pirates. Rowan, after awakening his human fruit, likewise gained the wisdom of an ultimate human. In combat, this manifested as the ability to rapidly analyze and identify an enemy's weaknesses. In the One Piece world, with its brutal survival of the fittest power system, true powerhouses were forged through countless horrific life or death battles. Their bodies often carried numerous injuries, many of them hidden, latent wounds. Like Whitebeard, hailed as the world's strongest man. In old age, his accumulated hidden injuries flared up, forcing him to rely on constant medical treatment, a shadow of his former peak self. Though in their prime, These hidden injuries remained dormant, but Rowan, as an ultimate human with awakened intellect, could swiftly pinpoint an enemy's most vulnerable points. And using the incomparably violent and destructive Conqueror's coding to strike those hidden weak spots. One could only imagine the terrifying damage it would inflict. The power of the ultimate human. Even for Rowan, already one of the peak powerhouses on these seas, provided a significant boost. And the flame cloud did look pretty cool. Rowan smiled, looking at the distinctive flame cloud. Hallmark of an awakened zone. Coiling behind him. That flame cloud is the sign of an awakened's own devil fruit user. Rowan explained, answering Luffy's earlier unspoken question. Awakened? Rowan, your human fruit awakened too? Everyone stared wide-eyed. They had witnessed the scary power of an awakened devil fruit back on Skypiea. It symbolized a fruit reaching its peak state, unleashing its full potential. Before meeting Rowan, Zoro, Nami, and Usopp hadn't even seen a devil fruit, considering them mere legends. On the Grand Line, while ability users were more common, they were still rare. As for awakened users, if not for Rowan, they wouldn't even know devil fruits could awaken. SUG. So awakened zones get that flame cloud. What about my Nika form? Luffy, whose brain usually jumped erratically, now seemed to regain focus when it came to cool appearances. Of course. Mythical zones are still zones. Upon awakening, they also get a flame cloud. And the Nika form has a special white flame cloud. Plus, after awakening, the Nika form can also achieve gigantification. Rowan chuckled. SUG. Luffy, you can become a giant too. Usopp cheered, hugging Luffy excitedly. Seeing his comrades look cool made Usopp genuinely happy. Shishishi. Sounds awesome. Luffy grinned. VMM. With a flash of light, Rowan reverted from his giant form back to normal. Thanks to the human fruit's power, even with gigantification, his clothes changed size accordingly, not daring. Just like Luffy and Chopper in the original story, after obtaining the awakened human fruit ability, Rowan's ultimate technique traits also updated. Ultimate Human, Conqueror's Coding, Apex Gold, Ultimate Human, Thunder Gloves, Apex Gold, Ultimate Human, Flame Gloves, Apex Gold. Attacks in giant form received a massive power boost. Whether it was Luffy's pre-awakening gear 3rd, 4th, or his post-awakening Nika gear 5th. His strongest ultimate moves always involved a gigantified fist. Gigantification naturally increased power through sheer mass. And Rowan, as an ultimate human, could push the human fruit's power to its absolute limit, maximizing his own strength and skin durability. Furthermore, a gigantified fist, due to its increased volume, could be infused with even more hockey at once. Though the consumption increased, as a finishing move, the payoff was immense. And Thunder Gloves was Rowan's technique of concentrating Rumble fruit power into his fists, combined with hockey. Since Rumble was already awakened, and its offensive power inherently surpassed Flare, Thunder Gloves were a tier above Flame Gloves in destructive capability. The awakened human fruit upgraded Rowan's combat power once again. As for the human fruit's awakened power, Rowan looked towards Zoro, Sanji, and Luffy. Analyze. Rowan's eyes flashed with the energy of the human fruit. His brain, enhanced to its peak, processed information at incredible speed. Thwack, thwack, thwack. Rowan's fingers darted out like lightning, poking Zoro, Luffy, and Sanji in specific spots on their bodies. So painful. Luffy shrieked, rolling on the ground. Zoro and Sanji also collapsed, gasping in pain, cold sweat drenching their faces. I didn't use much force. Those spots are where your hidden injuries lie. Rowan stated calmly. Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji had all accumulated numerous hidden injuries since childhood. Luffy, from Garp's training and prematurely developing Gear 2nd and 3rd, had many. Zoro, with his self-destructive training style. Even with his demonic physique trait. Some cellular damage had inevitably become hidden wounds. Sanji too, endured a tragic childhood, suffering many injuries while training his kicking techniques. Rowan then looked towards Chopper. As a fellow human fruit user, you should be familiar with this power, right, Chopper? Rowan asked with a smile. I can also analyze enemy weaknesses. But hidden injuries like these are harder to see. Chopper replied, quickly grabbing his medical tools and rushing to the trio's side. Once the latent injuries were aggravated, Chopper could diagnose them. Next, we'll properly condition your bodies, get you all into peak state. I'm counting on you, Dr. Chopper. Rowan smiled. Even if you call me doctor, it won't make me happy, you bastard. Chopper exclaimed, then immediately started doing his happy dance, even spinning on his head. He's delighted. Nami, Vivi, and Robin chuckled, watching Chopper. Chopper, I can infuse the desire for awakening of the human fruit into you. You just need to digest it, and you too can awaken, and gradually learn to control that giant form. Rowan said, placing Chopper on his shoulder with a smile. Rowan. You know, my giant form goes out of control. Chopper stared wide-eyed. He knew eating rumble balls allowed him to access 7 transformation points for his zone fruit. But eating 3 within 6 hours made him lose consciousness and transform into a rampaging giant monster. Earlier, watching Rowan's giant form, the reason Chopper hadn't joined Luffy and Usopp in their usual adventure trio excitement was because he remembered his own uncontrollable giant form. Of course. We're comrades. Don't worry, you master your giant form soon enough. Rowan reassured him, ruffling Chopper's fur. Chopper nodded firmly, tears welling up in his eyes. I'm gonna get stronger too. Ooh. Chopper leaped off Rowan's shoulder, his entire body radiating fighting spirit. He too would contribute his strength for Rowan. After mastering the awakened power of the human fruit, Rowan and the crew continued exploring Long Land. They encountered Tanjit, the old man on stilts who missed the island's migration and was separated from his tribe, and helped rescue him, leading to a heartwarming reunion with his horse, Shelly, who had waited 10 years for him. After exploring most of the island, since Rowan already had their next course plotted, thanks to the system, they didn't need to wait for the log bows to set here. The Going Merry set sail once more. Under Rowan's command, the Merry arrived at an uninhabited island. Once the log pose sets here, the next island is Water 7. A city built on water. And more importantly, home to the world's best shipwrights. Rowan stated, looking at the uninhabited island with a smile. Yasha. Shipwrights. We can upgrade Merry. Luffy, Usopp, and Chopper cheered, huddling together and performing their unique celebration dance. That's great, Merry. With all our gold, we can definitely give you the best upgrades using the finest materials. Nami gently stroked the Merry's mainsail, a sweet smile on her face. When it came to upgrading Merry, Nami wouldn't be stingy with money. The others also smiled. The Going Merry was also their precious comrade. To prepare for the voyages ahead, of course, they had to give their comrade the most perfect upgrades. Alright. While the log pose sets here, we can also replenish some supplies. More importantly, there's a very strong guy on this island, waiting for us. Rowan announced, an intense gleam of lightning flashing in his eyes. His rumble fruit amplified observation Haki had detected Okiji's presence here long ago. A very, very powerful presence. Before arriving, Rowan had already scanned the entire sea region at maximum range, confirming that, like the original story, only Okiji was present. After the Mary Ijo's incident, if more admiral-level threats had been lurking, Rowan would have adjusted his strategy accordingly for Nami and the others' safety. As for now, Rowan's eyes flashed with an astonishing crimson-black light as he stepped onto the island. A very strong guy? The others blinked, looking at Rowan with disbelief. For Rowan, at his current strength, to call someone very strong. Just how powerful was this person? But seeing Rowan confidently step onto the island, the others naturally followed. Anyway, with Rowan around, his grasp of any situation had always been flawless. Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji, especially, looked eager, wanting to test the strength of this very strong guy Rowan mentioned. Arara. You've arrived, have you? Nico Robin. A lazy voice drawled. A tall figure lay sprawled on a wide, open grassy field. A man wearing a white suit vest over a dark blue shirt, a green eye mask pushed up onto his forehead, slowly removed the eye mask. The world government's strongest combatant. One of the 3 marine admirals. User of the ice fruit. Okiji. The moment Rowan and the others stepped onto the island, Okiji's observation Haki had detected Robin's presence. Okiji remembered Robin's presence from the Ohara incident. He wouldn't forget it. Arara. What a strong presence. Quite different from what the fleet admiral described. Sky Sovereign Rowan. Okiji commented, slowly rising to his feet, looking at Rowan and his crew as they appeared before him. For once, his eyes held a rare hint of seriousness. The intel Sengoku gave him was vastly different from this reality. This man was incredibly strong. Marine Admiral Okiji. The moment she saw the man, Robin gasped, cold sweat drenching her forehead. Admiral? The others exclaimed in shock. Chapter 115, Bonus, Rowan, Okiji, you confused fool. Luffy and the others stared at Okiji, their eyes wide with disbelief. A Marine Headquarters Admiral. Thanks to Rowan, Luffy and his crew's strength and understanding of the world far surpassed what they possessed at this stage in the original story. Back then, Luffy's group had no real concept of what a Marine Admiral represented, what level of power they wielded. But with Rowan as a living benchmark, they now had a tangible understanding of the Marine Admiral concept. That meant someone capable of fighting on equal terms with Rowan, who had awakened the rumble fruit and fully mastered Conqueror's coding. One of the absolute peak powerhouses on these seas. They hadn't even witnessed Rowan in a true life or death battle. Even against Henel, their strongest foe encountered since setting sail, Rowan had displayed overwhelming dominance, taking him down with a single Conqueror's coding attack. And Rowan now was even stronger than he was then. Yet even that single attack from Rowan back then felt like an insurmountable mountain to them, a level of power they couldn't possibly contend with. Robin, looking at Aokiji, broke out in a cold sweat, an undeniable flicker of panic in her beautiful eyes. Though Rowan had helped dispel much of her psychological trauma, some of it inevitably remained. The horror of Ohara, and Aokiji displaying his terrifying power before her very eyes. These were nightmares that had haunted her since she was 8 years old, nightmares that persisted until she met Rowan. Now, facing Aokiji again, that panic was unavoidable. But because Rowan was here, Robin didn't completely break down as she might have in the original story. Instead, she subconsciously moved behind Rowan, her arms wrapping around his. Holding on to Rowan's arm, Robin's frantic heart began to calm slightly. Looking at Rowan, standing half a step in front of her, she pressed her lips together, feeling a significant sense of security. Nami and Vivi, seeing Robin's reaction, tensed. They had never seen Robin this afraid before. It was clear just how deep a psychological scar this Marine Admiral had inflicted on her in the past. Nami gripped her Climatact, and Vivi shifted into a combat stance. Throughout their voyage, they had came to truly accept Robin as a comrade. Arara. Nico Robin. Long time no see. You've grown into quite a beauty. Aokiji commented lazily, looking at Robin hiding behind Rowan, his own eyes narrowing slightly. If Aokiji and the Ohara incident were Robin's nightmares, then Robin and the Ohara incident were, in a way, Aokiji's nightmare too. He had personally participated in the absolute cruelty of absolute justice during that incident. Even innocent civilians were massacred to ensure no historians escaped. He was even forced to attack his former friend, Jaguar D. Saul, who was protecting Robin. The memory of it. Aokiji still refused to dwell on it. Letting Nico Robin escape was Aokiji's way of seeing what would become of the little girl his friend Saul died protecting. The girl who carried the weight of Ohara. What kind of impact would she have on the world? Ultimately, it was because of the Ohara incident that Aokiji began to feel lost, questioning the world government's absolute justice. So, he sought out different paths, different possibilities, trying to uphold his own sense of justice as a Marine. And it was also since Ohara, having witnessed too many tragedies caused by the world government's absolute justice, that even after becoming an admiral, Aokiji adopted his lazy justice. Lazy was just another word for completely lost and confused. Aokiji could no longer find his own justice within the current navy. An admiral? Why would a Marine admiral come after us? Shouldn't someone like that be chasing the super great pirates causing chaos across the seas? Usopp and Chopper, the cowardly duo, clung to each other, trembling as they stared at Aokiji. Usopp blurted out his panicked thoughts. Hearing Usopp's words, Nami, Vivi, Luffy, Sanji, Zoro, even Aokiji himself, instinctively glanced towards Rowan. I forgot. Rowan is one of those super great pirates. The source of chaos on the seas. It's us. Usopp yelled, clutching his head, tears streaming down his face. Before even entering the Grand Line, they took down the East Blue's strongest and highest bounty pirates, Don Krieg and Arlong. They even clashed with Warlord Hawkeye's Mihawk. Since entering the Grand Line, they directly eliminated another warlord, Crocodile. In Mocktown, Rowan made a direct call to the world government's stronghold, Mary Ejos, causing a massive uproar with his haki, threatening the Five Elders. The world's highest authority. Hailed as the most vicious great pirate on the seas today. Bounty exceeding 1.1 billion Bailey. The super great pirate causing massive upheaval across the seas. Was Rowan. Usopp and Chopper looked tearfully at Rowan. No wonder a Marine admiral was after them. But even so, Usopp tremblingly raised his slingshot, preparing for battle. Chopper clutched a rumble ball from his medical bag, ready to eat it at a moment's notice. Arara. Looks like you have some self-awareness after all. You truly are the source of much of the sea's current turmoil, Sky Sovereign Rowan. Aokiji commented, looking at the young man before him, his expression unusually serious. So young, yet he had already thrown the seas into such chaos. At that age, Aokiji himself hadn't even learned haki yet, still enduring Garp's brutal fist of love training. Calling Mary Ejos directly, causing a massive disturbance with your conqueror's haki, making numerous celestial dragons faint, threatening the Five Elders, the world's highest authority. You went a bit too far, Sky Sovereign Rowan. Aokiji stated gravely, his gaze fixed on Rowan. Celestial dragons? Luffy and the others looked puzzled by the term. But Vivi's face instantly paled. As Princess of Alabasta, a world government-affiliated nation, and having attended the reverie, she was certainly familiar with the term. The world nobles, descendants of the 20 kings who founded the world government, the creators. They treated everyone else like livestock. They were beings on these seas one absolutely must not angered. Back then, Rowan had actually used his conqueror's haki against the celestial dragons? So, the world nobles had also been part of Rowan's leverage to force the 5 elders to concede. All just to clear that little bit of slander against her name. Vivi bit her lip, looking at Rowan's back, her heart filled with regret for her earlier unhappiness that led Rowan to do such a thing, but even more so, overflowing with profound love and gratitude. Celestial dragons? You mean those pigs? That was just a warning. Rowan's words made Aokiji's expression change. Using Conqueror's haki to make numerous celestial dragons faint. Was just a warning? Then next time. Was this man planning a full-scale massacre of celestial dragons? And calling them pigs no less. Sky Sovereign Rowan, who knew even about the 5 elders and the gods' knights, couldn't possibly be ignorant of what the celestial dragons represented. Yet he still acted this way. What an utterly lawless man. Ma. But I just came here for a stroll today. I don't plan on fighting you. Aokiji suddenly said, lying down lazily on the grass. That statement sounds a bit false, Aokiji. Rowan replied, looking at him with a smile. Is that so? I rather think such words are quite fitting for our current conversation. Aokiji chuckled back. Rustle. Sounds came from the nearby jungle, and a group of civilians slowly emerged. Oh. You're a marine. The leader of the civilians exclaimed with relief upon seeing Aokiji. Then looked fearfully towards Rowan and his crew. These civilians were survivors of a cruise ship disaster a month prior. When they first saw Aokiji riding his bicycle across the sea, they thought they were hallucinating. Then, seeing the Jolly Roger on the Going Merry, they dared not reveal themselves. Only after hearing Rowan and Aokiji's conversation did they realize this man was a marine admiral, and the other young man was the infamous super great pirate. Sky Sovereign Rowan. Though terrified, with a marine admiral present, and knowing they would surely die on this uninhabited island if they didn't seek help, they mustered their courage and came out. Your clarification efforts aren't progressing very well, it seems. Looks like I'll need to give the world government's efficiency a little nudge, Rowan commented, noting the civilians' fearful gazes, which also occasionally flickered towards Vivi. He then looked at Aokiji, a crimson-black light flaring in his eyes. But before that, Chopper, if you would, check their physical condition. Rowan instructed. Aokiji hadn't immediately clashed with them because his observation haki had detected these civilians. He had thoroughly reviewed Rowan's intel before coming here, user of the smoke fruit, bomb fruit, kilo fruit, flare fruit. Possibly other unknown abilities. But the flare fruit alone was enough to make Aokiji cautious. A battle between Logia users, especially against a top-tier Logia like flare, would inevitably cause collateral damage affecting these civilians. He needed to get them to safety before he could fight freely. As for why he hadn't evacuated them before Rowan's arrival, Aokiji had only just arrived himself. And he didn't have the rumble fruit to amplify his observation haki range. In an uninhabited island environment, Aokiji wasn't omniscient. He naturally wouldn't know civilians were present without actively searching the entire island with haki.